Hey everyone, welcome back to the Not Just Politics podcast. The following is a conversation with Logan Dubil. He is a journalist and political commentator. This is his third time on the show. We sat down late at night at the rooftop of my apartment for a conversation to catch up about some of his recent work, the 2024 election, the current state of our political discourse from the conservative perspective, and much more. This was a really fun show. I really appreciate Logan and his friendship, and I appreciate his time. I'm very grateful for him. I had a lot of fun with this episode, and I hope you enjoy it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special edition of the Not Just Politics podcast, live from the roof with Logan Dubil. How's it going, man?
The roof is hype. Thank you for having me
The
back.
roof is hype. It's a beautiful night out here. It rained a little bit earlier, but it cleared up. And we have a nice view of big healthcare and big bank and all of that's the thing when we come up here. We're like, that's big.
Everything.
yeah. We have big healthcare with UPMC, and then I think we determined that PwC over there is big taxes, big accounting. So like taxes. K&L Gates is like insurance or something. Like we're just surrounded by. That's right. K&L Gates is big oil, so we're just surrounded by big industry around us. We're surrounded. But what have you been up to?
Same old, same old. Not in the city anymore, but I'm still doing the same stuff over in Philly now. Still doing reporting, online classes, which have been a lot easier and just in, I guess, difficulty level and getting the work done on time. It's a lot more convenient to have the work for the week in front of you already, and it's like, oh, it's just due by Saturday, like submit it.
Sure.
So it gives me a lot more time to do the things that I want to do career-wise and build my portfolio up a little bit more, my resume. So it's been a lot more convenient, all the way around.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I've seen your stuff on social media. I've always had respect for your hustle. You always are working really hard, so I think that's been cool. How'd the Brandon Tatum event go at Pitt?
It was interesting. It was interesting for sure. We knew already that there was going to be a protest because there were flyers hung around campus, and we found the Instagram account that the group was running. So they were also posting information about, what to expect there, what the chants were going to be, why they were protesting, the demands. So
they had the chants predetermined.
They did. They had the chants on the flyer.
I mean, just I'm not judging anybody's want to protest, but I get having the chance predetermined, but now I just think of them like a cheerleader squad, I guess. I don't know. That just seems...
Well,
I get it, but I don't.
One of the chants we were all cracking up at, it was new. It was different than the other ones. It was, we're here, we're queer, get the far right out of here. That one was new, and we gave them credit where credit is due. That one was pretty good. But they did the same old hey, hey, ho, ho, transphobes got to go and all that stuff.
Is Brandon Tatum, has he done any commentary on on gender?
So I am not like an avid follower of his work, but obviously I've been to the Turning Point conferences and events and stuff, so I know that he is tied with them.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Brandon Tatum used to be a police officer, and now he does like political commentary, and his big thing was co-founding the Blexit movement with Candace Owens. So now he really goes around and speaks at the conferences and at colleges about being a black conservative and what that's been like. And he used to be a Democrat, and he opened his eyes and like, this party doesn't have my best interest in mind. So the event was called Call Me American, and it was really, from what I took from the event at least, it was him speaking about his experiences as an officer and then why he chose to leave the Democratic Party. But I guess some of the protesters are under the impression, or maybe found some of the videos. I don't want to say like I quote from their flyer, but it was something like he takes advantage of emotionally vulnerable queer people or something. So it might be like some of his reaction videos on like TikTok or something that they didn't find right. So that's how they made it like a LGBTQ issue or a trans issue, and then they also use that to demand things from their university. I think they want like more mental health services on campus. They want gender inclusive medical packages, or access to all of that. So Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because it was a racial. I think it was a racially based event that had a gender ideology focused protest. So I was a little confused at first, but
Do you think that? Well, first of all, did you get to meet him?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
At first impressions.
He's a very genuine guy. I think he's a lot more relatable because I'm not saying he dressed like a slob, but he wore normal clothes. I feel like most of the conservative speakers, like if you're talking about like Ben Shapiro or Matt Walsh, they're up on a stage at a podium and they have a speech prepared.
They have a
and they're wearing
suit.
suits but he was, walking around on the floor talking to people. It was a Q&A. He was walking around, and then at the end, I guess the VIP members were like predetermined who they were. They got to stay back and get a picture with him, and then he literally hung out and just like talked to the group, like
That's cool.
Conversations.
That's cool.
So it was cool.
Yeah.
I was there as a reporter, so I got to ask him questions for the article I was writing, and I asked him like, why do you think like students are outside saying that you're transphobic and homophobic and stuff like that? And he was like, well, I'm a Christian, like I may not agree with that stuff. It doesn't mean I hate you. It doesn't mean I don't think you have the right to exist or live your life, but I ask that you don't push it on me, you don't push it on the kids. I tried to get some sort of comment outside for why they were protesting, but they all know who I am because I've covered like every single hit event and protest.
Yeah.
So as soon as I was spotted, I was identified publicly, and everyone was like, don't talk to him, tell me to get a real job. Saying really I'm not even going to say some of the things they were saying, really inappropriate things. And I tried to ask them why they were there, and they wouldn't even really give me a response. So it was weird. I got a little nervous for my safety when they all started saying my first and last name. They were talking about my mom. They knew where I used to work in the city, which I don't really know how they knew that. So that was a little concerning, but I thought it was also at the same time funny that me being there, like they wasted so much time where they could have been talking about their demands and why they wanted to, and instead they were talking about me. So
sure,
they kind of wasted their time.
Like they had no sort of that's always that's been something I've recently been a little bit confused by as I see a lot of these protests, and I'm curious what the intention behind them are. I'm sure that they have an intention, and honestly, I don't even think a lot of those people have bad intentions. But that's never really been it feels like that isn't information that's disclosed up front in maybe a way that it should be. I'm curious to know what are your thoughts on, because the one thing I think that gets tossed around a lot when you talk about like black conservatives is this idea of like internalized racism, or this idea of sort of self-hate. What are your thoughts on that?
Meaning,
concept,
like from a white individual, like.
No. I guess like, what are your thoughts on that concept of like internalized racism? And because, well, I guess
so like how people may think that like since he is conservative, then even though he's a black man, he could be racist too.
Yes. It's this whole idea of like, oh, are you even black? Right? Like that's one thing that I hear gets thrown.
I mean that to me is like that concept is racist. Like saying that just because someone doesn't agree with maybe like I don't know what the statistics are with what the black community is politically, but just because he doesn't, maybe let's just say the black community is majority Democrat or whatever. Just because he's not with the majority means that he's not, what like a real black person. Like I don't understand. So that just seems like I don't know why anyone's skin color or just say other things too with gender
I think and again I'm not a black person. I'm not trying to speak for their community, but what it seems like to me is that concept of like, oh, are you actually black? If you're a black conservative, seems to be
crazy.
It seems, and I've heard black people say that's been thrown at them, and I think what we're having a discussion about there is like culturally black and because they're not denying that person's skin color, but they're saying, oh it's. I think it's actually really condescending, and I do think it's racist, but it's almost like, oh, you're not even a part of the team, are you? That kind of thing. Well, that stuff's always bugged
and
me.
He even said that like during the event, I think towards the end during the Q&A session, someone might have asked him about what his experiences were like being so open about his political views, and he was like, the fact that I'm here at this school doing an event about being an American and I'm a black man, and everyone's like, oh my God, So I'm sure he feels some sort of way about. And I was at the protest. The majority of the people out there were white, protesting a black man on campus. And they're supposed to be the inclusive people out there, and they're supposed to be the tolerant left and stuff. But now they're getting. I mean, the flyers that were on campus, like these words I know were on the flyer. They called him a bootlicker. They called him an astroturfer. Not really even sure what that means.
That sounds like, honestly, that sounds like a job that you'd get paid a lot of money for.
Yeah.
When I hear astro, I think of space, and then turf, I think of like football turf, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just thinking like that makes, I don't know what that is.
And
I
then
had to Google it.
They called him a hack. They said that like Charlie Kirk just pays him around to spread his, Charlie Kirk's message. So it's they just.
I mean, Charlie
happy.
Kirk does pay him.
Yeah, I mean, he's
sure.
Also,
yeah.
Dylan Mulvaney got paid too when Dylan Mulvaney was on campus. No one. I mean.
Well, Dylan Mulvaney wasn't representing a larger organization.
Yeah, but like people go out to give presentations and stuff, and they get paid for it. Like that's what they do for a job. So no, everyone gets paid, but just because they don't like his message or him as a person, then they have to like find a way to like make fun of the fact that he's getting paid for being there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That stuff's always been so confusing to me. Like there's data out there showing that political beliefs often align with personality traits. Like there's a lot of psychological aspect to that. There's a lot of stuff that's formed in early childhood. So it's like to look at that person, it's never made sense to me. This whole like any of those concepts of like this like self-hate being like put into you because you disagree with an idea, like it's an ideology, like there, you know what I mean. But anyway, so that's always struck me.
We saw the same thing though. Like I've seen a lot of videos and interviews when like Trump was first running for office and he was doing the whole build the wall thing, and like you had like Hispanics and Mexicans like, oh yeah, I'm voting for Trump, and they're like, well, you're not for your own people because he wants to keep you out or kick you out and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's actually the really funny part that I don't think the left realizes about people that immigrate from Mexico is that yes, a lot of them do vote Democrat, but a lot of them also vote Republican. Yeah. And it's because the crime in Mexico is, a lot of them say like the crime in Mexico is so bad that when I come up here, I want to go with the party that's for more law enforcement, more order, because they come from a place where that's not the norm. Yeah, that's always struck me as strange. And then so that was at the Turning Point USA chapter at Pitt, just to give clarification on that. They have James O'Keefe coming in what, a week?
As of now, it's a week.
Okay.
I know that the chapter has a little bit of an issue with whether it's going to be able to be held, but he's coming regardless. If anything, it's just going to have to be like a date change or something. And then I know that I can't confirm or deny anything, but they've been telling me that a lot of cool speakers are coming next semester.
Yeah.
So that should be a lot of fun, too.
And James O'Keefe is the founder of Project Veritas, which is
like investigative journalism.
It's like a media organization, investigative journalism into exposing the left.
Yeah.
For stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Did they do any sort of going after people on the right? Has that ever happened?
I mean, I can't recall if that has happened, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went after the rhinos or whatever they call them, like trying to expose.
What are your thoughts on that, by the way?
I think that term, along with many other terms, have lost its meaning. Like now, it's like if someone votes on one package that you don't agree with, rhino, get them out. So like for people who are always voting against what Republicans and conservatives want, sure, I get it. Like you're not a Republican. Like you're not serving the people who voted for you.
Sure.
But like, let's just say, for example, one Republican voted one time, oh, let's fund Ukraine. Like, I think that's a good idea. But his track record in the past has been good. He doesn't deserve to be called that and outcasted from everybody else.
No, I think that. Well, I think it's. I totally agree with you. It's one of those things where it's like I'm not really even sure what it means anymore because it's being thrown around so loosely. It's like, and that's been my problem with that's my problem with ideologies, honestly, is there's this trend of words being thrown around with an ease that makes me a little uncomfortable. I don't like this idea of calling all people on the right racist or hateful or uncaring. I don't like calling all people on the left groomers or communists or socialists because I've met plenty of them and doesn't track. Like, it's just not borne out by the facts here. And I think obviously we probably agree on this, is that dilutes the potency of a word that we should keep around for something serious.
Especially the words that are meant to be like the terms racist, things like that. If you're just throwing that around because you don't like somebody, if you don't agree with anyone, that takes away from like the actual bad people out there.
The actual racist person that you should label, because our society's decided that we should know who those people are, and that's a fair thing, I think. So you got to label them.
Like in today's society, I technically could have been calling those protesters at the Brennan Tatum event racist because they didn't want the black man to be able to speak. Obviously, that's not what I would do. I don't agree with that. But in today's society, that would be acceptable.
I don't think that's why they're there, to be honest. For him, maybe some of them are, but I also think
they were like on the posters. It mentioned him and that he did that stuff about the videos. But no, I mean the main purpose, before they realized I was there, the main purpose was to demand more resources for them. On campus. I know that they also, the same group, because I was kind of looking at their social medias a little bit, the same group, they send their members out to the Board of Trustees meetings to try to get their demands and voices heard.
Okay.
But they just use that, I guess, as admin was going to be there, police officers were there, so they just use that as an opportunity to get their message out again.
Right.
And I guess just to make it more relevant, they wanted to include the speaker, just like, oh, that's why we're here, but let's also use this to go over the other things that we're expecting from our university.
I think that's a lot of what it is. I think it's just a lot of young people that just want something. They want something to be going on. Mm-hmm. So whenever they have some certain political beliefs, and then a group comes by and snatches them up, and then we got to go protest every TPUSA event. Who knows who it could be.
And it's not even the events; it's when they table. There's protesters there. When they post on social media, they infiltrate the comment section. So it's just them trying to stay relevant and trying to keep their voices heard. Which good for them.
Yeah, I can understand.
I don't know how they have that much time on their hands. I wish I had that much free time, but.
Yeah, I mean, protesting every tabling event. I also don't listen. I get some people have that kind of time, and more power to you. Like that's the freedom to protest. But, yeah. So that's you think that's going to be I would assume that's going to be a hotly contested TPUSA event. I mean, like.
And
I know
that O'Keefe one should be bad because he got $25,000 of funding from the student fees pool.
Ooh.
So
yeah, they're not going to like that.
That's where they're going to make it like my money went to funding this event, and we don't want this on the campus.
Yeah, I think something like that happened at. No, not at. What was I thinking of? Oh, I saw a YouTube post from David Pakman is. So progressive commentator, social critic kind of thing. He put out some community post on his YouTube that said like, oh, if you're paying for cable, $3 of that a month or a year goes to Fox News, and the comments were like, well, I'm dropping it then because I don't want to give them any of my money, and that's totally fair.
Yeah,
that's cool. But like, I would imagine, like you said, they're gonna be upset that.
Which I mean, like all the other events on campus also have the same process. Like the student fees are put aside, and the student government can then allocate that funds to anyone who requests it. So. Yeah. But like this may be mistaken, but last semester Dylan Mulvaney was there, and I believe that the $26,000 in funding came from that same, the student fees. No one from Turning Point was there disrupting it, protesting it. I mean, they obviously don't agree with it, but they didn't show up, and they respected the fact that Dylan had the right to be there.
Sure.
But now it's the same thing's happening, but on the right. So I'm predicting that there will be some sort of protests, and that should be interesting to see how things play out there.
To be fair, and I don't know exactly why this is, but the left does seem more protesty.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Than the political right. And I know. Why do you think that is? Like, I'm just curious. I guess, is it like the mindset? Is it the type of person that the political left brings in? Or is it a difference in messaging? Or is it a difference in intention? I'm just curious.
I don't think it's the type of people, because me and a lot of my other friends do believe that, like, someone like Dylan Mulvaney, I'll just keep that as the example, we believe that he's causing a lot of harm to the female community, taking away opportunities, kind of making a mockery of them. So in my mind, that would be someone that you would protest and say, that's really, like, what you're doing is not okay. But no, like, the students were able to bring them to campus, and they did, and it went on as it should, because it's free speech. You can do what you want to do. I don't think the left thinks the same way, They will say that they're pro-free speech when they're protesting, but I do know that at the Brandon Tatum event, they were chanting, if we don't get it, shut it down. Like, you can't be chanting things like shut it down and then say that you're free speech. So I think it's just maybe just the you think that your side's the right one and that's the only view that's allowed on campus. I mean, that may seem extreme to you, but from my years of reporting going to events, that's definitely the message that I've been receiving.
That would not surprise me, because a lot of these kids are in echo chambers pretty heavily. They are dealing with they're dealing with the echo chamber stuff, and they're in a situation where unless there is some sort of civil discourse organization on campus, or unless that's sort of a part of the university's structure, then you're probably not getting much of an honest view of the other side's voice. And I think that applies to everybody. And actually, I wanted to bring I wanted to hear your thoughts on this. I saw a quote on Instagram that I absolutely loved, that got me thinking about a couple of things. And sorry, this is not. I should have had that up. There we go. But so, what do you think about this here? Whoever is underrepresented in your life will be overrepresented in your imagination. Curiosity will deliver us the truth. What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely makes sense, for sure. Underrepresented in your life will be overrepresented. Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. From my perspective, I believe that the conservative voices in higher education are underrepresented.
Agreed.
And that's where I am more willing to go out to every single event I can and to make sure that I'm keeping up with everything, because that's what's important to me, making sure that there is that representation.
Yes, and just for everyone listening, that is a literal fact. You can go to, I believe, FIRE's website, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. I believe it's them. I could be wrong, but there is an organization out there. I do think it's FIRE, but anyway, they've got a literal demographic breakdown of the number of conservative professors versus progressive professors, and the ratios are. They're enormous. It's like 10 to 1, 11 to 1, sometimes up to like 13.
And that's professors, not even like the student population.
That's just like professors. So these kids, these people at universities, and I'm not meaning to just call out the political left here. I think the political right has the same sort of mentality. It's just it's existent in different places because the right doesn't have the institutional influence over academia that the left does. But I don't think it's unique to them. But that's what happens is they go into these places and they may never hear a conservative voice in their 4 years. Like, it's genuinely possible. If a person has a small friend group and they're very opinionated and they want to stick with people that they agree with, then like that's going to happen. Like, they're going to stick to those groups that are very echo chambery. It's very one-sided, and they could go through their whole college experience and maybe they never have a conservative professor. And so like that's what you're dealing with there. So anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the flow there.
No, that's fine. Well, I definitely agree with everything you said. But then to play devil's advocate, if we look back at the examples we've been talking about so far with the pro-trans protesters at Pitt, in their mind, since they're protesting for more gender-inclusive resources on campus, and they don't think that their voices are being heard, that's their way of them believing that they're in the minority on campus, and maybe that's why they're so active and vocal at every single event, at every single tabling, at every single, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they don't think that their voices are being heard and that they aren't being represented properly on their campus.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Yeah, and I actually think I agree with you there, even though that was like a devil's advocate situation. I do agree with that. I mean, I think that's just the reality. And even looking at like human psychology, like our brains aren't really meant to interact with this much information on a daily basis. We're not really supposed to be interacting with this many people on a daily basis. So I think our brains are getting overloaded a little bit, and it's tough to figure out sort of the boundaries of, do I have to care about everything, right? Like nowadays we're so overloaded with information about conflicts happening all over the world, and the political... Oh man, I can't believe I shaved my face for the Trump costume. This is the saddest day, and literally all my friends are like, "You don't look that bad," and I'm not used to seeing myself as such.
It does.
I think that was a good. Yeah.
We got our thumbnail, guys.
I think that is a good one. I look like this part of my face.
I'm gonna
looks
be
very
honest.
blind.
When you were getting me, I did not recognize you for a little bit. When you went to open the door, I was like, "Is that him?" I don't know.
No, but anyway, shoot, what were we? Yeah, so like our brains are meant to interact with all this, so it's tough to establish the boundaries of how do I select what I can care about?
Yeah.
Sure,
yeah.
because you can always make that sort of surface level statement of like, okay, I don't want innocent people to die. I don't want the environment to be completely fucked. I don't want I don't want this civil unrest. I want this country to have a democracy. You can make those sort of basic level statements, but in order to like really do the issue and get into the thing, that's sometimes a thing that you can't do it with everything.
Yeah.
It takes enough of your brain power. So, and then also on top of that, it's like, what are we determining as like violence that is acceptable, like in retaliation, especially political violence? Like, there is data coming in. I think starts with us, and maybe YouGov had the polls. But it was some like number that was bigger than it should have been for like people that are okay with like justifying political violence against the other side.
It's crazy, yeah.
And
it's scary.
I mean, it is kind of scary. It's scary if it keeps going up. Like I imagine that you're always going to have some percentage of that in a population.
Was that a recent?
I think I saw.
Stats?
So Bridge USA reposted the data. They always link the survey and the bio. I think it was from YouGov is the one that I saw. And YouGov, in my opinion, has been pretty reliable. Like when I worked my summer internship with All Sides, that was a pretty like YouGov was like a solid like polling institution like that I found that I could trust. Like my friends on the right trusted it, my friends on the left trusted it. So I figured like they're doing a good job at being very unbiased or as unbiased as possible.
And assuming that those stats are like recent and
I mean,
I'm not justifying them, but it does make sense with everything that's been going on.
Of course, I mean, of course.
Yeah.
I don't want any of it, and I think most people are going to, the majority of people are going to agree with that.
Apparently not with those stats.
I guess. I mean, I want to pull it up real quick, and I will try to be quick actually pulling this up. But I mean that's the situation as well. Like with all of this. Oh no. Here we go. This is from October 20th. Study shows how voters view the other side. What they mention it is so this is a source. I'm sorry, I misspoke, folks. This is a source from at UVA, which is University of Virginia, and then Center for Politics. The UVA. Okay, so this is a University of Virginia study saying 51% of Biden voters and 47% of Trump voters say those who support the other side are a threat to American life. 41% of Biden voters and 38% of Trump voters say it's acceptable to use political violence to stop political opponents from attaining their goals. 41% of Trump voters and 30% of Biden voters favored red or blue states seceding from the Union. So those are the top three. And again, if you want to go find that study, you can find it on the University of Virginia's Center for Politics. That's where they posted that. That's a poll. So that's scary if that keeps getting larger. I wonder if any of that. I mean, I hear that political violence. I mean, those are people that are at least willing to do that. Or at least thinking that kind of thing. I haven't seen too much political violence personally with my own eyes. Like, I haven't seen all that much. I mean, sometimes I haven't seen with my own eyes. I haven't seen the protests that have gotten violent that I know of.
I mean, the one back in April, Michael Knowles, was definitely a little bit much for me.
Yeah, that was a little rowdy.
Probably. I mean, a couple weeks ago, I was at Penn State covering Riley Gaines, and I'm not trying to.
Did you meet with her again?
I didn't have much time to she noticed I was there, and we got to talk a little bit. It
wasn't
like we were
cool.
Hanging out or anything.
Okay.
But I mean, two students there were all up in people's face. I'm not saying this is violence or anything.
Yeah.
All up in people's faces, cursing them out. They flipped over a table. Then they got arrested. So.
Oh right, yeah, I saw that on your story. Yeah, I mean, not that I want to see any of this, but just I'd just be curious to see what that looks like. I would love to be at the. I would love to be.
Seen it
I would love to be at the protest for Milo Yiannopoulos in 2016, which is actually
Ben Shapiro at. He was at Berkeley. I think that went really bad.
Yeah. I mean, the one at Milo Yiannopoulos, which was at Berkeley, that one was the one where they were like someone threw they set part of the student center on fire. Like they were breaking glass, they were fighting in the street. Like that's crazy, and that's actually what started Bridge USA. The CEO and his roommate were there that day at that protest, and that's what. Well, what are you gonna do?
Oh well.
No, but they were there that day. They were there at that protest for Milo Yiannopoulos in 2016.
And that just opened their eyes about.
Yeah, and they were like, immediately after, they were like, we're just gonna get 6 people on each side of the protest and see if they can just get in the room together to talk.
Yeah.
And they found out that they could, and then that's kind of what started the whole thing. But anyway, honestly, I kind of lost track of where we were immediately before this.
Just a political violence.
Yeah, like that stuff can get a little spooky. We got to all try to fight that. I mean, I feel like that's something that if you ask, I mean, I would be willing to bet some crazy number, like over 50% of people, at least, like I would say up to like 90% of people that are probably gonna in person be like, hey, you probably shouldn't go.
Yeah.
Attack these people.
I would never lay my hands on anyone over a difference of opinion.
No.
I would never lay my hands on anyone if they were yelling in my face. If they get physical with me and throw a first punch, I will defend myself.
Of course.
But that's not political violence. That's self-defense.
No, you got to defend yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I don't want any of things of that nature, but that's just. But so anyway, and I honestly, we were talking about like academia before this and stuff too. I don't really know exactly where we started and where we stopped. That's usually how these things go. I just don't remember anything I say 10 minutes after I say it. Okay, so this is maybe taking a little bit of a new direction here. What are your thoughts on Ron DeSantis saying that he would essentially take away visas and deport people in Florida universities, I believe it was, that were protesting Israel or being like
pro-terrorism,
pro
I think
Hamas.
Is what it was. Yeah.
He was saying he'd rather supporting Hamas. But here's the interesting thing that I would raise with that is I've talked to people in person who have a very different take on like the Free Palestine thing. I have friends, I know people that have said Free Palestine, and at the same time, Hamas is an illegitimate government in Gaza. They're a terrorist organization. They should get them out of there.
Because the people I have talked to are not like that.
So I've met people on the left that say that. Like I have plenty of friends that have said like, yeah, obviously, like you've got to call out like that's terrorism. Like, and and then I also have so my question is like whenever Ron DeSantis says like supporting Hamas, you could look at the Free Palestine movement, and if you have a blind spot, you could say, oh, well, they're willing to overlook what Hamas is doing to support Palestine. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that like stance that he's taking.
Yeah. I don't know the legal aspects of making that or putting that into law, like sending them back or canceling the visa or anything. I don't know how that would work. I don't know if that's a legal process or not. But like you said, I am 100% against the people who are pro-Hamas. And I'm not grouping the pro-Palestinians into that. But I have been reporting on this for such a long time. Well, not a long time, but ever since it started. And I also have spoken with people in person. And if you aren't able to condemn Hamas separately from Palestine, and if you aren't able to condemn the terrorism that's going on, then that is a problem to me, for sure. And I'm a big Ron guy. I'm a big Ron DeSantis guy.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean I'm going to blindly support everything he's putting out there. You know what I mean? So again, I don't know the what am I trying to think?
Well, so just for some context, that's very unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Like Fire put out a thing saying like if we're gonna say free speech.
True. Yeah.
The UC, or what was it? The ACLU.
What about them acting on that though?
Acting on that I think
different.
is different. Obviously, if you say something mean to somebody on social media,
okay,
right?
Well, okay, yeah.
We're not taking
I guess
you
I should
down.
clarify. No one should be banned or deported back or cancel their visas because they said that they support something. Yeah, no. Sure. But I've seen many. I don't know if these are taking place in Florida. I know that at Tulane University just recently.
Tulane is in Louisiana.
Okay.
Yes.
There was
great bridge chapter at Tulane, by the way.
There was an incident where there was, I guess, counter protests happening at the same time. there was a truck that came down the road and students were waving the Palestinian flags, and then they picked up an Israeli flag or flag of Israel, and they went to light it on fire, and Jewish students presumably ran up and tried to grab it to save it from being flied, and that's when they all got like mobbed and beat up by the other side. So that's something that you need to look into and make sure that that's not happening and acceptable. But no, if you're saying, I support what's going on, like I'm not saying this as me, just like in general, like the people over there need to die, or Israel's not a legit place, we must take over. Like you're not gonna get your visa canceled for that.
Right? Yeah. That was my thought. Is like that seems like a slippery slope. Because that is a free speech infringement.
Yeah.
Fair and square. Like that's just what it is. Yeah. Now, if his policy was if you partake in essentially what would be domestic terrorism, like in the name of this cause, and I don't want to use domestic terrorism lightly, obviously, but I'm saying like if you're getting rowdy at protests and you start committing acts of violence or committing crimes in the name of this movement or this idea. Then yeah, we got to take care of you. Like we gotta.
Which is the same with anyone with the visa. You can't commit crimes while you're here you can't commit crimes and in general, but especially if you're here on a visa, you got to be careful about that because you can get that taken away. There are rules that come along with that.
Yeah, agreed. So I'm sure people are going to call that racist. They're going to and honestly, and I don't agree with it. Like I don't agree with that policy. If we're talking about the basis of just like, because this is why I don't like the language. I don't like the word supports. Like, what do you mean by support? Because I think that was the language he used. If you're supporting it, what do you mean by support?
I would say like taking part. Like you would have to make it a specific that you're taking that you were involved in an incident that got violent physically or something. Something of that nature.
Sure, and that's what I'd be worried about. Like if that was actually going to be legislation, I would not be on paper opposed to it. I would need to see the language. The language would have to be very specific, that kind of thing. Yeah, and I would like to think that would be possible. But it's tricky. Like it's tricky whenever the wording like that is so vague. I'm not really a big fan of that. Okay, thoughts on Kevin McCarthy?
I didn't really know much about him to begin with. I did know, though, that I don't know specifically what the exact bills that were promised that he said he was going to work on, but I do know that a lot of people were upset that those weren't being passed or brought to the table. Now, the fact that it took how many times to get him in, and that's all down the drain. I remember staying up that last night of the voting, watching every single session, and we finally, to get him in was 15 rounds of voting or something.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was 15. It was 15.
Yeah. So all that down the drain, and we had to watch it unveil again.
Yeah.
But it shows you. I mean, it was annoying the past couple weeks not having it. I don't even want to say annoying. I think that's downplaying it. Like it was frustrating that nothing was getting done because we didn't have a Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
But. No, I mean, it shows that people in Congress are willing to hold others accountable, even if you are aligning on the same side of the political aisle. So that part's good. I'm just hoping that we get some work done now and we don't got to go through that again.
Okay, so do you have any thoughts on? I hear all that. Because the arguments I heard against him was like he was too much going around the Republicans' backs to the Democrats, like making all these deals, not getting all of what the conservatives wanted. Did that stuff ever bother you? Like I know the debt ceiling was one that people really got mad at him for.
Things like that, the funding the Ukraine, I know a lot of people are upset about, but they seem to keep doing that, and a lot of people are upset about that. So I mean, when you're voted, not even as Speaker of the House, but as a member of Congress, you need to listen to the people. And I know I'm not alone in being upset with something. So if it's not getting done and you don't think that the Speaker of the House, which is a very, very high up position, second in line to the presidency, then you need to make sure that you are following up with the promises that you're keeping and having everyone's best interest in mind. And clearly, a lot of people didn't think that McCarthy was doing that, and they took action, and he's not in that position anymore.
Do you think? Do you have any thoughts on? Because I've figured, does this not make our political system seem so weak?
It does.
That if
it does.
4 or what was it, like 6 or 7 members of your own party can just call a vote, swoop up the other 50%.
That's how close like everything is.
Yeah, like that's how close it is. And to me, that just exposes such a weakness in the political system. Like a couple members of your own party can decide they don't like you, and they can be those 6 people. Because I believe McCarthy got voted out 216 for, 210 against. It's 6 people. That's not.
It's not a lot of people.
That's not. That's
out of the.
Everyone listening.
What 400 members of Congress?
Yeah. Everyone listening to this knows 6 people. Imagine if those 6 people could just turn around and go, we're kind of tired of you, and just kick you out.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
And then my concern was how every single Democrat was on board in doing so, and I'm assuming they knew that it wasn't like they were gonna get a Democrat speaker. Like I would hope that Republicans wouldn't be so stupid to win over the House majority and then just ruin that accomplishment.
Yeah.
Because they messed up with this. So
yes.
in my mind, as soon as he was, taken out of that position, I was like, you better have. If a Democrat ends up in that seat, I will change my party affiliation to independent, and I am done with you guys, because that would have been embarrassing.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So, and any thoughts on this new fella, Mike Johnson?
I haven't heard of him until.
First of all,
yeah.
I haven't met him. I don't know him. I'm sure he's okay of a guy. Can we just get something out of the way? Mike Johnson is this is the most generic name. In my brain, there are like 18 Mike Johnsons in Congress.
Yeah.
There's like 18 of them. Like,
and I don't know any of them.
I don't know a single one. No, I mean, I haven't met him. Obviously, I'm not talking bad about him. But I think it's funny that it's such a generic. It's just.
Well,
like,
I know it was between him and Byron Donalds, and I've met him.
Really? So you have a picture of Byron?
Yes,
Donalds.
I did. Yeah, I met him at CPAC back in February. I guess March, and he seemed like a cool guy from Florida, kind of cool. I know that I've seen a lot of the viral clips of him kind of holding down his views and not arguing, but being firm with people who disagree with him. I thought he would have been a strong choice.
Sure.
So I guess I was just kind of rooting for him because I at least knew who he was.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, from what I've seen on Twitter and stuff, are happy with this, and they're very optimistic about the future. So from someone who doesn't know a lot about him, I'm hoping that they're right about this choice.
Thoughts on him backing Trump during the Stop the Steal era?
I'm still iffy about that whole era.
Okay.
Obviously, what happened on January 6th and stuff wasn't. I'm not okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's crazy how much hate people get for being concerned about election integrity.
I don't disagree with you, but I have some family members that just I know people that completely deny it, and they
are crazy,
and they have no evidence. Like
bad.
they don't
that's
have
bad.
like they have evidence of some voter fraud, but it's never enough to overturn any of the individual situations that stacked up that gave Biden the win. Like. And the other thing, too, that kind of bugs me, and I don't want to get lost in the weeds on this one, but whenever people say, oh, how ain't no way 81 million people voted, like where? And I'm thinking, okay, this is something that I think, and I've never talked to you about this, and obviously what I'm saying is not a shot at conservatives, but I think one thing that conservatives don't understand about Trump is that y'all's brains are wired very differently than a progressive. And like I'm maybe a little bit of a mix of both of you. So I understand the allure of Trump. It's a little bit of chaos. It's a person outside the system. It's a middle finger to the establishment, which the American people felt like was slowly stepping on their necks closer, like over and over and over, especially after 9/11. That's a big one. Like the surveillance programs, all that kind of stuff, reading the emails, stealing the data, like that kind of stuff bugs people. So I understand that, and I get that he's funny as hell. He's the most entertaining person I think I've ever seen in my life. He is just a highlight reel of just like some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen. But here's where I think, and I don't know if this is a blind spot. I'm sure it is for some people. I'm not saying like generalizing, but the chaos of Trump it's too much for some people to handle. That's the reality.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that might like little bits of his messaging, but the fighting and the chaos and this like crazy information warfare thing. Bless you, sir.
Thank you.
This crazy like information warfare thing that is being fought on social media, but among like conspiracy culture and cancel culture are fighting this crazy information war. Like, in my mind, of course, the next election with Trump would be the most votes ever.
Yes.
Because there's going to be so many people on both sides going to voice their opinion because he is such a polarizing figure. And I don't know if your experience has been that like, is that a discussed topic in conservative circles that like, hey, this to us seems great, but to someone else, this is so chaotic.
No, for sure. I mean, I have a lot of friends. I mean, I guess just sticking on the whole like stolen election or election integrity thing. I have a lot of friends who I have called out for being like posting the, not my president, Trump's still president. It's like, come on. And me personally, like during the last election cycle for the presidency, you see things that are happening like, oh, they ran out of ballots, or oh, the machines are down. It's a little suspicious, but do I think that if everything was working, that the whole election would have been different? No, I don't think it was enough votes, even if there was some issue. But at the same time, that still needs to be looked into, and we need to make sure that that's not happening, because if that stuff didn't happen, the reaction to this election would have not been as chaotic, as you said.
For sure. And I agree. So, like, and that's always been my thought is, like, I'm sure there's voter fraud in every election we've ever held.
There's no way to guarantee that every single person's vote went in and that it was checked and,
And that maybe someone slipped a couple extra in. It's like, I'm sure that there's voter fraud in every election, but enough voter fraud to overturn the election.
No.
That's a completely different story.
If it was close, certainly. If it was really close, I'm sure.
If it was a million votes off, if it was 500, sure, then it's like
that would have been like, maybe we should do a recount, or maybe we should.
What was it, like 70 million to 81 million or something like that?
It was way too large of a difference.
I think it was
for
double
it to
digit.
have been different. Yeah,
it was like 10, so it's like that's a crazy. That's like
there's
all
no
of New York
way that
being
10 million extra ballots were you know what I mean.
Like even in a but think
and
about
I know a lot of people didn't go out and vote.
Sure, and here's the thing, right? You don't have to. You can't think of a country of 330 million people because 330 million people aren't voting.
Yeah,
150 million are. So all of a sudden, 10 million votes. That's a lot. Whenever you're only talking about 150 million, that's 15%.
Yeah.
Imagine if there was a 15% increase in your wage. You'd notice, right?
Yes.
You'd notice. People would notice these things. You'd go, that's a little bit higher than it usually is.
That's a little odd. Yeah.
Sure. So, and wait, did I do that math right? 10 million is 15% of 150 million. Because you just add another zero. Yes. Yeah. I got it. That's a lot.
And we're not math majors.
Sure. No, we're not. I sucked at math. But so I agree with you. Like, I think that there are people that say, hey, let's approach this with a little level of skepticism, knowing the level of fraud and the level of fuckery that the government, runs around with. That's, I think.
Put it right here. Is that real? I've never seen that before.
Have you never seen that one? If you guys didn't hear that, it's a meme of Trump going. Yeah, hold on. Can we just play it into the mic, Gavin?
President Obama was constantly chewing gum, and then on top of that, he took it out of his mouth. Put it back. You can't do it. It's disgusting. The people of India are going crazy that President Obama was constantly chewing gum.
It's crazy.
Dude,
how did I never see that before?
That's something that he would totally say. But anyway, what were we saying before this? Gavin just pulled that up out of nowhere and just took me out. What were we saying before this?
Gap and
Yeah. So it's like I know people that are saying, hey, Let's approach this with a level of skepticism. With the amount of just shit the government tries to pull off, like, maybe let's not just blindly trust this thing. And those people are legitimate, and I understand those people.
I mean, like you have Carrie Lake, who I think is a little bit of each right now. Like, she lost. She thinks she won. I've seen her like, oh, I'm that's a legitimate governor, blah blah blah. Like, that part is no. Come on, like, you're making everyone look bad. Which is why I'm praying. Like, I've met Carrie Lake. I love her. I think she's a badass. But I'm praying she's not Trump's VP, because that is
that would not be a good idea.
She's running for Senate, so I don't think she's gonna do both.
Who do you think his running mate's gonna be? Because
I thought it was gonna be her, so now I don't know because she's running for Senate.
Let's be completely real. No one on that stage is gonna beat him.
I've heard rumors of people who are very close with this person that it's probably gonna be Vivek.
As his running mate? Did Vivek say he would take it?
I think he said no.
Yeah.
But because I think he said, well, I'm not running to be VP, I'm running to be president.
Yeah.
But that's what I've heard.
Okay.
I think that can make sense. He's younger, so you get people who are always complaining about the age.
Yeah.
If you are not that I'm a conservative and I don't really care about this, but for those who do care, you have the diversity factor. I think that would be a good choice. He's pretty close with Kristi Noem, South Dakota governor. I think that could be a good choice. Younger woman. But other than those, no one really comes to mind.
Any thoughts on and does it bother you at all that he came from biotech?
No, I mean, I don't know too much about that, or haven't really had opinions on that to really care.
Okay.
I know a lot of people. I've seen interviews where people do call him out for that.
Yeah.
But to me personally, it's not like a deciding factor on whether I would vote for that ticket or not.
Anything, and I think this is more of like a fringe thing, and I don't think this is you at all because I've never seen you mention this stuff, but there is a group on the right out there that doesn't like George Soros. They think that he's like manipulative, Satanist, like some really wild stuff being thrown around. And they're saying that like Vivek Ramaswamy, he got some sort of grant or something. Essentially, they're saying that Soros funded his education.
Hear about that, yeah.
Anything seeming like concerning in that area to you?
I mean, I say I'm not a fan of Soros because all I hear when related to that name is, the crazy protests that happen and how funding has happened to that. But I don't know, like, other than that, I personally don't know who he is or why he has his claim to fame and how he's so rich.
He's the chairman of the World Economic Forum.
Okay. Yes, I didn't even know.
And a lot of people there's a lot of, and again, I'm not saying this is strictly conservatives. Obviously it's not, but I think there's a heavy overlap. There are, and I would call them more fringe conservative circles out there that are really skeptical about him. They think that he's up to no good. So they kind of stay away from anything that he's associated with, and I think it's a little bit of what am I thinking of here? It's a little bit of a witch hunt in a way.
Yeah.
It's like we've gotta look at every single thing he's ever touched as this inherently evil or this like cover up operation for something deeper. It's like this is a little ridiculous. But okay, so I was just curious about that kind of stuff because those are sort of like when I see the conservative arguments against Ramaswamy, other than the he's not Trump and Trump's my guy, or the
I can't stand those people.
Right. So those are the other criticisms I hear, and I've listened to him on some podcasts. I think he says some stuff that resonates. He also said that he would send in the U.S. military to execute the Mexican cartels. That's a little wild. I mean, unless you have how do you
that's
go?
Yeah.
That's just like I'm standing on the floor is lava and I'm standing on the couch right now. It's like I don't even know where to go next with that. And so many Republicans on that stage at the primary thing said that they were.
I watched those for purely entertainment purposes.
I mean, listen, I've been considering watching them fully. I never have, but
I think the third one's coming up soon.
I mean, is Trump going to show up to one? Listen,
I want him to so bad.
Listen,
he is a loudmouth on the social media. I want him to bring that to the stage.
He is just listen. I think Shane Gillis is. I'm bringing up all these comedians. You don't know them. I'm sorry. I don't mean
No,
to.
You are
He's a
good.
comedian. He has one of the best Trump impressions out there. It is so good,
Well,
and
look up a picture of yourself.
he has a bit that I absolutely that's so good. It's the idea of like
I think
the
I've
final.
seen a clip of him
It's
doing
the
a Trump
debate.
impression.
It's the debate of like the final debate of the year. One Democrat candidate, one Republican candidate, and the moderator goes, "All right, fellas, surprise third guest." And then the Stone Cold Steve Austin music plays, the glass shatters, Trump comes out and he goes, "They're both gay."
That was a good impression.
I'm telling you, I did the Trump impression on the Halloween episode earlier today. You might see it. I might put some of it up on my Instagram.
Better.
It was fun, man. But no, I mean that's what he, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing, man. I'll be honest, and I don't know. I mean, I've been interested to recently gauge where we fall on this issue, like comparatively. I've never. I mean, there was a little bit of time in high school when I was a little bit of a Trump guy. I was always sort of the belief that this is not this is not like some pure moral character in front of us here, right? Like this is a guy that's been into casinos, married a lot, money, the mafia in New York.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think the guy runs a construction empire in New York City? He gets in the rooms with the really powerful people and he figures it out. But he's and I'm really not a fan of his style of politics, as entertaining as it is. The sort of incentive towards fighting, the throwing public insults at people that you selected to do a job, that kind of stuff really bugs me. And it seems like that's very illiberal in nature. Like that's kind of going against the norms of this country. What is it? The Eisenhower rule, which is, you only talk good of your political adversary in public, or at least neutrally. You're allowed to talk about them however you want behind closed doors.
Yeah.
But in public, you have to at least make this attempt at.
If there are people you endorse or people in your cabinet,
Sure.
you gotta respect them.
Sure, like you've got to do it. And you know what? There was a really great moment where Trump went on Sean Hannity recently, and Hannity was like, "Why would any of these people support you?" And Hannity brought receipts of like times that Trump hired a person later and talked about them, trashed them publicly. And he brought up that, and honestly, I didn't see the clip where Trump responded, but just like the fact that Hannity asked that question, I was like, oh, that's so good. So as much as like in my personal life, he's hilarious. Like he's undeniably funny. His timing, his everything, he's so funny. And he's a pig. He said some wild stuff, but he's just, you know what I mean? But in terms of like him running for, I would love him to go back to reality TV. I would love for him to host a reality TV show, because you know what? It'd probably be the funniest thing. Like the entertainment would be so good if he could just not be. But so I'm really not a fan of him. But he's gonna be the candidate. There's no way that any of those people are gonna beat him. Like DeSantis, I think, is the only one that has a chance.
And I know that like myself and I know a lot of my other friends at the University of Pittsburgh, who are, I guess, registered Republicans, they are all for DeSantis. Like, we all are pushing for him. I think that if Trump wants to win some of those DeSantis people back, he needs to lay off the insults.
Okay.
He ran, I think, a pretty good campaign in 2016. The fact that everyone in the beginning thought that it was so funny and it was a joke to everyone and he won, was crazy to me. And that was before I was even involved with politics. Yeah. But now he claims that he got a lot done in the country, and whether you think he did or didn't, why isn't he using that as his campaign now instead of just attacking, like, look at my polling numbers, I'm better than them, look at Ron DeSanctimonious. Like, no.
Which, by the way, can we be honest for a quick moment? Trump is a master of funny nicknames. Ron DeSanctimonious sucks.
No,
that's by far the worst one.
I didn't even know what it meant.
Listen, here's the thing.
I was there at the rally the first time he threw that out, and we're like, did he just mispronounce his name? Like, what is that?
Yeah, like, who even knows what it means? Here's the one that he should have done, which would have been ever so slightly racist towards Italian people. Someone threw around the name Meatball Ron.
Or did you see what Chris Christie during the debate was like? If Trump keeps avoiding these debates, we're not gonna call him Donald Trump. We're gonna call him Donald Duck.
And dude, and nobody cheered.
No one did anything.
Everyone was like, dude, Dude.
Oh no! And then everyone on Twitter is like, if you make something like that, you should be forced to drop out of the campaign. Like, you should not be eligible for president of the United States.
Dude, bro cooked nothing with that one. He was cooking nothing.
He was rehearsing that in the mirror the night before to make sure that he got that line in.
That's funny.
You knew he was like waiting for the perfect moment to use that quote.
That's actually mad funny because that's probably exactly what happened.
Hey, Donald Duck. Duck is the second. But no, I mean,
oh my gosh,
the nicknames don't make anyone look good. Like, in all seriousness, the throwing around of the nicknames doesn't make the party look good. It makes us look like we're a mess, which we are. I mean, you have that going on, everyone yelling at each other. You have the Speaker of the House incident, and we're all very divided right now. So
okay, so now break. What's that been like for you? Break that down.
It's embarrassing. Like I am. Believe it or not, I am so willing to call out my party for its wrongdoings, and I think that we're trying to. This is a very important election. I cannot stand the current president. I think it's a disaster. You look at his polling numbers, and he's below 40% approval rate, and it's very serious. And if we allow this to happen another 4 years, I'm worried. You have everything going on in the Middle East. You have rumors of World War III. I don't want to get drafted. I'm not ready to do all that.
I mean, I don't mean to interrupt you, but and I don't want to open up this can of worms yet, or maybe not even today. Like, who even knows? But it's. We're just running into it head first. Like, seems like no one is making any attempt to slow it down or to stop it or to go, hey, what the fuck are we doing? Like, we are walking ourselves into another world war.
None of this was happening, but none of this was happening when Trump was in office.
This is the argument I made earlier today, and to be honest, I want to say that because I do kind of believe it's true, but I haven't done the issue. I don't know exactly what things looked like before and after and that kind of thing. I don't have the argument
for
fully.
For context, let me not say nothing, but under the last administration, you had the peace treaty signings, and you had him going over to, North Korea and meeting with the dictators, and it's
and like going over to see. Did he go to see Putin in those 4 years?
I don't know for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me.
I thought he did.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that's interesting is like. I think Jordan Peterson made this point, and I think I actually agreed with him.
Jordan Peterson retweeted my work recently. That was
crazy.
I was so excited about that.
I meant to. I don't remember if I messaged you about that, but that was incredible, man. That was pretty crazy.
I got that notification. I was like, there is no way.
That's insane. But I think he made this point, which is like how much of the relationship between all these world leaders is formed by the even quasi-trust of just being in the same room with that person, understanding that that's a human being right there. They've got their country and their people. You've got yours. Like, you guys might not agree on anything, but, like, at least have that related experience of, like, I'm a leader, you are a leader.
Yeah.
We are trying to represent our countries in whatever way. Some more honest than others. But to be honest... And my brain immediately went to like China maybe not being honest, but is the United States even honest? Like so maybe none of them are honest for all.
Everything is corrupt. Right? Everything is corrupt in some way.
So that's interesting. Is like that's why I think we need a younger leader so that they can actually go to these places.
And I think that's why I think that's one of the reasons why I'm for DeSantis, because you can make the argument that Trump is more mentally there than Biden. But you can't be using the age thing for Biden and be like, oh, Trump's 2 years. What's it? 2 years younger? Like,
it's nothing.
2 or 3 years younger.
And I think people exclude Trump because he's still mentally kind of sharp.
Yeah.
But also,
he's old.
the guy's not in good shape.
No,
he's not a healthy person.
All.
He could drop
he's not
dead.
Healthy.
He could drop dead in a moment, like for all we know, right? Like he says he has the best immune system. No one fact checked this. No one fact checked this, right?
I want the doctor's report.
I mean, seriously, like give me something. But so that I mean is there fighting? How far is it going? Are there any like friendships being broken up within over like the
support for...
No. I'm saying like within the young conservative movement, the split between like Trump supporters, DeSantis supporters, all of the
I
haven't lost
fighting.
any friends over it, but a lot of people have called me out for posting pro DeSantis things. I've been called a rhino for that. I was like, come on.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's almost an honor.
I will still vote for Trump if he's the nominee, but I am trying to ensure that he's not the nominee.
Okay, understood.
Because I don't think that Biden beat him once, and even with low approval numbers, you don't know what's going to happen in the election. And
I think if it was Trump versus, I think he'd win if it was Trump versus Biden personally.
Trump would?
I mean,
Really?
I think like look at the state of like the world. Like it seems like everything's falling
But
apart.
we
Like
would
there
hope
was at
that
least
too,
this.
But like taking the risk is not worth it.
Agreed.
We cannot afford another
4 years of Trump.
Yeah. No, Biden.
Oh,
Yeah,
Biden.
yeah.
Oh, I mean,
cannot-
I don't. I honestly don't think.
So
we would
that's
be-
why we need to ensure that our nominee, even if people have to sacrifice and be like, well, maybe if everyone's more comfortable with this, and I think I think DeSantis has room to bring in people, because the reason Biden's going to win is because people hate Trump that much. So if we can get
Exactly.
someone else in there, then people are like, okay, it's not as bad as Trump.
Well,
we
I
can
don't know,
get
like,
Biden out of here.
I could see the. I mean, like, I'm not saying. I don't think I would necessarily be. I mean, I guess I'd have to really look at all of what DeSantis is offering,
Yeah.
and if it's any different than being the governor. It's weird. I love Florida. I actually do like Florida a lot. Like
Oh,
I
love
understand Florida. We went to Orlando for the Bridge Summit. It was great. I mean, it is a beautiful state. Like it's got the Everglades, it's got the beach, it's got Miami, it's got cocaine.
Yeah, and
Who knows?
My my aunt and uncle moved down there, and I don't know their politics exactly. From what my aunt gives off, she does seem more liberal, but they moved down there, like they love it, like you know.
Yeah,
what I
like
mean?
people like Florida, so I get Florida, but I'm not a huge DeSantis fan. I mean, maybe on some things, sure, but you know,
What-
I don't
things?
I don't like a culture warrior. Like that's
Yeah,
all. To be
okay.
honest, like, and again, I have my blind spots. I haven't looked super in depth into all of what he's been doing, but it does seem like he's been consumed by the culture war a little bit. Like he's been just focused on fighting wokeness, and he's
Yeah.
fight like it's not. Okay, sorry, folks. We're back. We had a group of ladies came over to talk to us about what we were podcasting about, and we said politics, and then they were
Got into
they were
very long discussion.
they were standing very close to me, and I was slightly frightened, but they were lovely, and we had actually a great conversation with them, and they were very well intentioned, and they were very complimentary of what we were trying to do here. So, I didn't catch any names, but shout out to them. They were fun. But we're back, and to be quite frankly honest,
We have
Logan,
no idea
I
where
have
we-
no idea where we
So
were.
we could just start a new topic.
I think we were somewhere. Oh no! So I do remember where we were. We were talking about what that riff was like in the young conservative movement between Trump and
yep.
and so I'm still curious about this. Like, how do you feel? So you said you feel embarrassed by it.
Yeah, I mean, the name calling is ridiculous. If you look back to when, before they were both announced, they were both very supportive of each other. Trump endorsed the guy. He won. It was a big, time to celebrate. And now that he sees him as a threat, I mean, that's the only way I could really explain why he's being so obnoxious with it. Like,
Sure.
why would you just make fun of someone that's not a threat?
Yeah, agreed.
But no, I mean, now that they're running against each other, it's an issue. But you see this all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
2016, you had the Trump versus Ted Cruz and blah,
Yes.
blah, blah. And now they're, like, very supportive of each other. So it's just the whole competition aspect.
I almost broke out my Trump impression to do a Ted Cruz bit. I almost did it. I almost did the Ted's wife, ugly as a dog. Just dishing out some mean shit talk. Also, real quick, sorry, entertain the masses.
Oh, yeah. So, no, but, I mean, I'm pretty sure we were talking about, too, like, me being pro DeSantis. I haven't lost any friends yet. But a lot of people do call me out, saying Trump's the only way we got, or you're betraying Trump. We work so hard, blah blah blah. But no, I mean
That's all ridiculous.
I have been very adamant, and I've seen other people too about making fun of Joe Biden for his age. I want someone who is younger. I want someone who will represent me more. And you can't just be for Trump because he is a conservative or a Republican. You must apply your standards for the next president across the board.
Your set of values that you have. I wonder about this, and this isn't. I wasn't really planning on talking about this, but this might be interesting. Do you think that we're running into an issue where people haven't really figured out their individual moral sort of foundations before jumping into the world of politics?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people do use those labels like Republican, Democrat. Oh, well, if they're running Republican, and I'm Republican, I'll vote for them. Like you need to look at it from, and like you were saying, I don't know if this was with the women or on air, but you were saying like you need to look at things from like an individual issue point of view.
Yeah, you
So
got to go
if-
case by case.
Yeah, you may, like, for me, I'm a Republican and I'm going to vote Republican, but if there's a candidate out there that, like, for me, like, important issues are, pro-free speech, pro-life, things like that.
Mhm.
If there's a Republican candidate who's like, you know what, no, like, pro-choice, like, we can't, like, I'm not going to vote for you because you don't have my morals or my best interest in mind.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I've been curious about that because I do think that's an important thing that I kind of had to go through a bit of a transformation. Like I initially dived into politics without really figuring out what my moral foundations were. And I just jumped right in.
I mean, I jumped in after Trump won.
Yeah.
Because for me, I was like, interesting. And then that's when I started to. I actually do think I did jump in from like a moral, like a issue perspective. Because that's when I started to do research on each side, and every time Trump gave a speech, he would mention like a topic or two. I'd be like, oh, where do I stand on that? Then I realized that all of my viewpoints leaned conservative, and that's now why I'm so vocal and active on that side of the political spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you yeah, and so that's what I've sort of also been like thinking about that. I think that's how you do kind of have to, not have to, but I think that it's probably a little more beneficial to take it issue by issue. I really don't like the team stuff. I really don't like the picking a side on everything. Obviously, whenever there is violence, whenever there is XYZ thing, like I'm gonna condemn it. Obviously. Yeah, but yeah. So, but I do think that's a problem. Like, and I initially jumped in without really figuring out my moral foundations, and then I got just thrown around in that world like crazy. I was all over the place because I didn't know what was going on, and I had to really take a step back from it. And that's when I realized a lot of my foundation is in free speech, civil dialogue. This idea that like we have to keep the conversation going, even if it's painful, even if it seems like it's gonna go nowhere, so I sort of built my moral foundation around that, and then I jumped in, and then maybe that's why I don't pick a team, I guess, in the way that other people do, and I don't begrudge them for that. Obviously, I don't have anything against them, but it's just a different way of existing in the system.
That's why like the primaries are important. I mean, this time around, I don't think this applies with Trump being the obvious person who's going to be the nominee. But let's just say Trump wasn't winning and it was everyone else on the board. That's where, yes, everyone who is looking to vote for one of these people is most likely a Republican, but that's where they differ on the specific issues, and that's where you can pick out your best candidate. But you have everyone who's just for Trump, and they're just going to do that because they liked him and blah, blah, blah. So all these people who may have a better take on something or may have a better way to get something done, they're really not going to be heard, or it's not going to matter because they're not even going to get to the point where that can be implemented.
Right. So you're done with Trump from what I've gathered.
Not done. Like, I don't want him to be the nominee, but if it's Trump versus Biden, I'm voting for Trump 1,000%.
Then let me rephrase that. Then you're not. He's not your number one
No.
pick for the ticket. Yeah. So and that's So here's my question for you then, because I sort of brought up earlier. Oh, sorry, that was the thing for the batteries. My bad. Do you think? So what I mentioned earlier on with the fact that, like, I think the chaos of Trump is too much for some people to handle. Do you think that's sort of what happened with you?
Yes.
Like, it's just too much of it, too much going on.
And a lot of my friends, too, are like, we get it. Like, he did some good things, but now it's just, like, he's on and, like, he'll, like, release, like, press releases on, like, someone's tweet. Like, everything has to be like, oh, this is my view on this, and Ron DeSantis, blah, blah, this person's Chris Christie's fat, blah, blah.
Bro, by the way, a quick pause in the program, and I mentioned this earlier today too, but Trump fat-shaming anybody is the most hilarious thing. It is straight from a South Park episode. It is.
But he's commenting on every single thing, and it's not even like it's like not policy-based, not really intellectual.
It's a situation where it's like,
much.
why do we need to hear from
way
you?
Too it's nothing to pertain to you. Nothing at all. No one. I can't even say no one cares what you have to say about that, because some people eat that up. Like, oh,
yeah, they
Trump
love
just
it.
dropped the truth bomb. Like, oh, like, it's not even a short press release. It's like 5 paragraphs of like some small little thing that happened.
Yeah.
So, and as someone who tries to keep up with everything, I get all those emails, and I don't want to read them. I don't care. But
Yeah.
no, it's just too much. But then you have the people on the other side who are extreme in the way that, like, they eat that up and they're like, yes, like, everything Trump, yes, 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 which is probably why he does it. He's trying to appeal to his base, trying to stay relevant. So that's why he is going to be our nominee, because there are too many of those people and not enough of me and my friend group who's annoyed, basically annoyed at this point. And embarrassed, yeah.
Right. So in your ideal world, some more of those people sort of reevaluate the
Yeah,
situation
yeah.
and just take a step back for a minute.
I have no, like, I've voted for Trump in 2020. I liked a lot of the things he does or did. I like the things that he stands for. You have every right to, congratulate him for a successful first term and
Of course.
stuff like that, but it doesn't mean that we have to stick with him now. You're not there are other options out there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I remember when I spoke to when we went to the Braver Angels convention, that was they got a perfect red-blue split in their member base. So I was talking to some conservatives there, and they were like, yeah, I used to be on board with Trump, but at this point it's all about him. He just needs to shut up, get out of the way. He's making us look bad. And that was kind of a popular sentiment that I heard among maybe what people that are now anti-Trump Republicans.
I don't hate him.
Of course.
But like the things you said, there's a time to move on, and I think if it's not now, like if we're pushing him to be the nominee, and like I was saying this earlier, if people have so much faith in him, and if we do end up to lose in 2024, it's going to be the biggest I told you so moment, and now we got 4 more years to waste until something else can happen.
And that's an I told you so moment that you particularly don't want.
No, not at all. I do not want that. The satisfaction of that I told you so is not worth the next 4 years of my life.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm praying. I mean, I'm just praying he wins at this point, because it's going to be him and Biden.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm nervous for sure.
And I want to circle back to that, but there's something I wanted to touch on earlier. I didn't get to ask you. So for me, the appeal of going to the Bridge USA Summit is that I get to be in a room of people that not only share my mindset, but it's a room with a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
There are very opinionated conservatives, progressives, leftists, even some of them, people that are apolitical, people that are centrist, and it's like you still get that mix. And so that's sort of what I take away from that, and that's like it gives me like just such a great feeling. I'm curious, is that any way similar to what it's like to go to the TPUSA national convention?
No,
like, what is the appeal of that for conservatives? I'm just curious. Like, what is that like?
Well, being around like-minded people is something that I have just now recently been given the opportunity to do all throughout school. I mean, yeah, there were people who would privately message me like, "Oh, I'm conservative."
And you had a few
Thank
friends.
you so much. Yeah, but it wasn't like I was able to. Like, politics is something that I want to do for a living, so this is what I talk about.
Of course.
I'd never had that opportunity to do that at school. If I had started talking politics during a random ass conversation, no one's going, "Oh, this guy again," or you know, we don't care. But going to a political conference with people who agree with you is something that I really do enjoy. But then, I mean, obviously we don't have the progressives and the left-leaning people there, but we still have debates. I mean, not every conservative is the same. We disagree on a lot of issues, actually.
Yeah, you can't treat it like a monolith.
That's what makes it fun, too, because you're full of room not only full of conservatives, but full of open conservatives who are willing to get into that debate or, break down their mindset on certain things.
Yeah, I'm curious, is there a sense of like, oh, I can finally be me?
Yes.
Because in your campus life...
I'm completely different. I'm relaxed, I'm comfortable, I can be myself, and it's a good feeling.
Can I ask you a potentially difficult question? Do you feel that way here?
Doing the podcast?
Yes.
Yeah, no, of course.
Okay. Interesting.
You were saying off, I don't think we're recording yet either because of the delay, but like we don't agree on many things at all.
No, that may have been a little bit of over exaggeration. We have actually agreed on a decent number of things here.
Yeah, but there are definitely things we disagree on.
The list is there.
Yeah, of course.
It's there. Yeah.
If you weren't as much of a Star Wars fan, maybe I wouldn't like you as much. No,
I mean, listen, I do love my Star Wars, man.
No.
I do.
No, but no, I am.
So
I am very comfortable. Yeah.
That's what I was curious about, like, because the appeal for me is I get to explore the ideological spectrum with this understood rule that all the walls are down. You're allowed to be as open and honest as possible, and we're going to help sort of guide each other in maybe, and not really guide in like a manipulative way, but we're just going to all throw our thoughts in the middle, and we're going to see what we can come up with.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but you're exploring that same thing, but just within the conservative movement.
But I guess looking at like the progressive and leftist side of things too, like that, people call me like a troll going to all the protests and things like that.
I mean, like that. Those people clearly just don't know you. I think because from what I've seen,
I enjoy doing that not only because it's what I want to do for a living. Like I'm reporting, I'm breaking the news and stuff like that. But I, believe it or not, do care about what these people have to say. I may not agree with what you're saying, but I want to learn a little bit. Mm-hmm. Now, it may be because they know who I am and don't like me, but every single time I go, I ask them questions and I just get cursed out and shut down, and it's not really productive in any way. So that it's a little frustrating. Like as soon as I swinging back to the Brandon Tatum thing, as the second the one protester who's at every single event saw I was there, she called me out, and the whole protest was, Logan Dubil's here, you don't even go here, no one talk to him. And I'm recording, and can I like play some audio on here?
Sure, yeah, you can.
One of them said that the purpose of me being there and filming was to identify the protesters later, and I don't know if she meant like I wanted to get them in trouble or anything, but I just want to play the audio for context. But
what are you going to do?
When I record protests as a news reporter, I do not talk because it's not about me giving my opinion. But it got to the point where it was so repetitive and annoying that I started to defend myself.
Yeah, well, eventually that kind of stuff does wear you down, even if you got the armor for that kind of a situation. Eventually getting, eventually so many people making those comments at you, so many of those people doing, like, of course, like, yeah, it's going to get annoying, and eventually you're going to just be like, hey, I got to just stand up for myself a little bit.
Yeah, and then before I play this, because I'm not going to play the other audio that I'm about to talk about, but the student protesters who know who I am at the University of Pittsburgh are under the impression that the petition that was made against me a couple years back actually succeeded and that I was kicked out. And
wait, what?
There was also
they think that you got kicked.
They think that I was kicked out. So that's what they keep saying. And it was so hard for me not to lash out and because I take that personally. Like, that's not true. You guys don't know what you're talking about.
No, no.
And you were every time I'm there, they're like, he was kicked out, and that's why he's over here because no one wants him over there. And they say like, my mom signed a petition to get me back into the school. It's like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. But it's hard for me because like me being a credible person is very important to me.
Of course.
So as someone who's a news reporter, I don't want to be the one caught there spewing my opinions and yelling at people if I'm there working.
Of course.
So it's hard for me. But this is when I like lashed out yesterday.
Can you put that up to the microphone so people can hear that? Put it close to the top here.
For identification later.
You guys have masks on. I can't identify you.
Yeah, you can. You believe that you can't be identified if you're wearing a mask?
I don't know who you are. You're wearing a mask.
Believe anything you say. You don't have to know me personally to be able to identify someone that's not wearing a mask. Do you have that little faith in the police department?
I'm here reporting on the protest. I'm not giving my opinion on anything. I'm filming your guys' message. That's why I'm here.
Your ulterior motive, Logan. Shut the fuck up. Suck Gavin. But if you really don't believe that identification with a mask on is impossible, gosh damn.
I'm even trying to explain, like, I'm not here to spew my views. I'm not here to identify you. I'm literally here reporting on your event. Like, you're here spreading your message. Have a camera rolling. Say what you want to say. Even if you think that my outlet is right-wing extremism or whatever, people are still going to see it. But no, they curse me out. They say all those weird things, and it's not productive at all.
That one girl said it with her chest. She was like, "Shut the fuck up, Logan. We all know your ulterior motive."
They were saying my first and last name. They were saying the restaurant I worked at when I lived here. They were talking about my mom. And there was another part where I lashed out. The one girl was like, "Get a real job," and then someone else was like, "Who are you gonna send that footage to? Your mom?" I turned to her. I go, "If this protest was about me and my mom, you guys would be getting a lot done because I've heard a lot more of that than the demands that you have for the university and why you're upset. So you guys really need to like figure something out here because it's falling apart. There's 20 of you guys wearing masks, sitting in the grass, crying. I don't know what was going on, but the event happens, and no one really heard your demands because you stopped talking about them 5 minutes into the thing. And it was, for me, I consider that a fun time, but.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I consider that fun. That'd probably drive me nuts. But I get what you're saying.
And
though,
then when that audio was playing, I mean, obviously this is audio only, but the girl's flashing the lights in my face.
Yeah, she was standing there
lot.
with she was standing there with a flashlight,
like a
that was
bike
on a
light.
timer.
Like the bike light at night, just to let people know. But it was she followed me around the whole time I was there. My eyes hurt after I got inside.
Fun. Yeah, well, that's, and I need to have more conversations with those people. I don't go to those protests. I tried to go to a couple.
I genuinely want to.
I tried to go to a couple at Pitt and talk to people, but I was pretty much like ignored.
That was during the Riley Gaines.
The Riley Gaines when I was pretty much ignored. I was able to talk to maybe one or two people, but I think my approach was a little rusty, and I could have maybe set myself up a little better for success in that moment, but.
Well, definitely let me know if you are able to ever do that, because I'm like I said, I'm curious of what they have to say, but I'm just so known there that they don't want to talk to me because they already have their opinions on who I am.
Yeah, I mean, and that's tricky. Yeah, I mean, I've been meaning to. I don't go to those protests. Yeah. But I really should, because I really should try to talk to those people more. There's a Planned Parenthood clinic right down the road behind you, and I walk by there every Saturday morning when I go to work, and every day I think, man, I should just stop and talk to these people. I should have a conversation with the people that are protesting it, and the people that are supporting it, and the staff. Because that is a group of people I've never really talked to. Mm-hmm. That was the abortion clinic that my dad's parents used to go protest every Sunday morning when he was growing up.
Wow.
So, but so I've been meaning. So these are groups of people that I've been meaning to have more conversations with, because I don't really understand why. I guess I understand why they're doing what they're doing, but. I need to get some personal stories.
Yeah, of course.
I need to get some ideas here from people in that world. I just haven't ever had time. Or maybe I haven't made time. Yeah. Maybe that'll be over the summer. Maybe that'll be my goal.
I mean, if you're looking for something, I would keep your eye out for the James O'Keefe thing.
Yeah, I got to see if I can. I'm going to be so busy that week.
I do think they're pushing it back. So you most likely will have more time.
Okay. Well, that'd be good. If it was like...
They were saying it's probably going to be like at the end of the month. Of November.
Okay, that would be sweet then, because that would be like, I guess finals would be coming up.
Nothing confirmed yet, but I think that's what they're leaning towards.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, but so that kind of stuff I haven't, because in my brain I'm thinking, man, my view of those people has to be a little bit off, just because I've never talked to any. I just don't know what those people are like. Mm-hmm. So that would be a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely open to it. I mean, I guess it's just because it's me, because other reporters went and talked to them, and they were willing to give them statements.
Right.
I'm trying to always have a conversation with this girl, letting her know that I'm not here to expose you guys. Like, I'm here reporting, and everyone's just cursing me out, like shutting me down so I can't be heard. So for me, it's a lost cause, but for you, there's definitely an opportunity to hear their side.
Yeah, I would like to. That would be interesting. Again, I've tried, minimally, just in some ways, just kind of back and forth. Anyway, okay, this is maybe a bit of an odd place for us to go, but bear with me. Do you think there is an objective truth?
Meaning?
Like, do you think that objective truth is a real thing? Like, that there is a correct answer to every issue? I guess maybe that's a bad way of teeing it up.
I wouldn't say every issue.
No, maybe that's a wrong way of teeing
it up.
No.
I don't think there is, because I think we talked about this one of the previous times I was on here. Mm. Like, I think you were the one to bring up, like, we all basically have the same interests in mind. That we just think that there's a different way to get there.
Yes.
And that's why there's such a divide. So,
Yeah.
no, there's no one correct way that we can get somewhere, and there will never be with how much we're angry with each other and disagree with each other.
Okay. Well, then the rebuttal to that is, then what about math? What about anything in STEM?
That,
Right.
like politics-wise, I would
Sure.
say.
So I guess that's
yeah,
the thing.
yeah.
Because I'm thinking, like, if you're gonna say that
No,
in
Matt,
all
like
of
2 plus 2
life-
is 4. Like we earn that.
Yeah.
We just gotta like. I don't know like how like. This may sound like I'm stupid. I don't know how to prove that. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like we were taught that, and I think that's just something that like we have to like. Believe is true
it's
just
a
because we
man-made
taught
system,
it. Yeah.
But it's a man-made system of measurement. But the thing again, I don't want to get lost in the weeds with this here. I'm just going to briefly make this comment. This whole thing of like 2 plus 2 might not equal 4. It might actually equal 5. Is so silly
I think
because
I know. Are you referencing a specific interview with that?
No. I'm just
Okay.
saying like that concept in general. The thing about it that's dumb is that what we're having an argument about is the part that is superfluous. We're having an argument about what we call the thing, because no matter what you do with the language, if you take 2 of something, no matter what you call it, even if you call it, whatever, you could name that quantity anything.
Yeah.
But adding 2 of them together is always going to equal just double of the, you know what I mean? Like it's always going to equal that.
Yeah.
So even if we're gonna have these arguments about like who came up with the idea of 5, like the number 5, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the physics still works.
Yeah.
We could rename every rule in physics right now, and if we kept the numbers and the ideas the same, the rockets are still gonna get up into the air. The planes are not gonna collide with each other. The buildings aren't gonna fall into the floor.
Yeah.
I don't want to get lost in the weeds with this, but I just
No,
don't
sure.
get it.
Yeah, okay. Well, for things like math and stuff, then yes, there is. But
Sure.
Like politics-wise.
Yeah, so then can you say, because then interesting enough, a couple weeks ago we had Andrew Van Horn on the show, who's a guy I met on Instagram. He's a nihilist. He's very like against ideology, and he doesn't believe that there's an objective truth in life. But he's also in the Department of Physics at his university.
Okay.
So I'm wondering how he squares it off. I'm wondering maybe he does make that distinction, that it's not every aspect of life. Obviously, the hard sciences are maybe an exception for him. But then what about biology and things like neuroscience, like things that we don't really fully understand yet, and who knows what future knowledge is going to reveal. But that's why I'm curious about that, because I do think in the world of politics, an objective truth is not real.
No.
Because there's always going to be multiple ways to do the thing, and chances are it's probably a hybrid of the 2 things
combined,
coming together.
Compromise.
That is going to be the most effective or efficient in the moment, or at least it's going to be the best outcome.
Yeah, like pleasing the most amount of people.
Sure.
Or,
Sure. And what it does is, and there's actually data on this, that Republicans and Democrats working together in office didn't actually move them closer to the center politically. It removed the barriers. It got them used to it. It got them into like a habit of, so they became more willing to communicate with each other and work together. So it's like, I think that's why I'm usually skeptical of like one-sided solutions for that reason. But yeah, so that's why I think it's an interesting question, because you'd have to make that delineation between like the hard sciences and then like politics, and then there's some stuff in the middle that's like a gray area sort of. But yeah, it's tough to say. I don't think there is one in the world of politics.
No.
I don't think there's a one. Like, I don't think anyone has all of it figured out.
No.
I don't think so. But yeah, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I thought that was interesting. Okay, now we'll I wanted to loop back to that, but we'll get out of here. Any other thoughts on the 2024 election we didn't touch on?
I mean...
Here's the question.
Yeah.
Here's the question. Who would you pick instead of Biden? If you're thinking
RFK Jr.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
He seems like a genuine guy.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously his backstory is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I'm anti-vax, but the fact that he's been so open about that is intriguing in a way. I don't really know how to explain that.
No, I understand. It's like there's some reason for him doing that. Like, he's doing that for a reason.
Oh, yeah,
he's
yeah.
not just... I know that seems kind of obvious, but I'm saying in the point of, like... And I think if I'm hearing what you're saying correctly is, like, you've got to maybe pay a little bit of attention to that, because is he speaking out because he's seen some really crazy shit and he's really concerned about it, or is this a moment to capitalize on, or is
no
he
way
being,
to tell that? You would hope that it's the first thing you said. But
of course, yeah. No, I'm not meaning to be
yeah,
cynical,
no,
and I don't want to put.
No, I know.
I don't want to put cynical ideas out there in the universe, but these are the lines of logic that you could follow that could take you to a certain place, and that would be maybe how you form an opinion of the guy. I've listened to a
You could
couple.
say the same thing out of everyone.
Of course.
Like Trump, I'm doing this because
Of
I
course.
care about this country. Like, or he likes traveling and speaking and getting in the spotlight. Like,
Sure,
there's
yeah,
no way
yeah,
to
yeah.
prove any of it.
Or maybe he's been an egomaniac
Yeah.
and just like an attention magnet for his entire life. That's always what he's been. This is,
Yeah.
I mean, also, I also have a fun question for you after this about that. But, where was I just before this? I lost myself. Oh yeah, like with RFK, like
Yeah.
that is an interesting thing, and you got to pay attention to that. And I do want to loop back to him later on in the program. But this is a fun question that I posed to a friend on the show a couple of weeks ago. Is Trump the GOAT of con men? Yes or no?
Of con men?
Yes. Is Trump the GOAT?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Dude, talk about a guy that pulled off the crate. And listen, I know I'm not saying that Trump stole the election whenever he wanted. I'm saying that he in my mind is an entertainer first. He's a businessman second, and then he's sometimes a politician third.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my kind of thought. So it's like he found a way. He found a way in.
Sometimes I guess this is very similar to what you're like saying here. Sometimes I'll like see clips of like Donald Trump like before political times.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Home Alone 2 recently, and he was in there.
Did you
And I
see?
was like, this man, like, it was the president of our country. How did that happen?
Dude, the guy in Home Alone 2
Or, like,
was the
you know,
president of the United States.
Seeing the like apprentice, like you're fired stuff. Like this guy led our country. People, millions of people voted this person to be the highest level. How?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But seriously, it's like it is.
Or like Arnold
Incredible.
Schwarzenegger, governor of California. Like
That's
it's
fire.
crazy.
That's fire,
It's
son.
Crazy.
That's fire.
Like,
I love that.
props to him for making that happen.
I love that. No, but seriously, that was just a fun thing. Is like who's your top 3 con men? Like, I don't even have a list, but like Trump goes on there, dude, for sure. That's just such a fun one to think about, because like, man, talk about a guy. Yeah. Talk about a guy that's lived a life,
The man who
dude.
helped a lost child get to his room in his hotel.
Oh my
was the
God,
president
that's
of the United States.
do you see whenever the mugshot got dropped? The caption
Oh my
was
God,
like,
both of them.
the caption was like,
yeah.
Donald Trump, the star of Home Alone 2, has been federally indicted.
That was funny.
I can't with that. It's so good. The mugshot thing was so... Listen, the mugshot thing, the Democrats should never have done that. They should never have taken his mugshot. It was a mistake.
That was his first tweet back, right?
That
was his
I don't
first
remember.
tweet.
But either way, I'm telling you, they should not have done that. They shouldn't have. Listen, the mugshot is only for a person that is not publicly recognizable.
When-
Everyone knows what he looks like.
Within 24 hours, merch was already made.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what did you motherfuckers think he was
They-
gonna do?
They got sent the mugshot before it was released to give them extra time to like.
Like they made millions of dollars off of it.
Oh, his fundraising went through the roof.
They put it on mugs. They put it on. I'm sure they put it on fucking everything. Stickers, T-shirts,
yep.
mugs,
bumper stickers,
all of it. Listen, I'm telling you, and they didn't need to do it because he's already a publicly recognized figure. No one needs to see a picture of Donald Trump.
Any celebrity's mugshot goes viral. No one's like, oh, look at this.
Again,
I'm not supporting them anymore. Like, everyone's like, that's badass.
Right. And then Jesse Waters said that hilarious. Again, I'm bringing up a lot of things that I brought up earlier today, again, in this show, oddly enough. But when Jesse Waters was like, and I'm going to say this with an untamed or with an untouched record of heterosexuality. He looks great. He looks hard. And
he made the perfect face.
I mean, seriously, here's the thing. But it goes along with this whole thing, like, to a certain extent, as much as I don't like Trump and as much as, yes, he's done some things that I think are deeply illiberal and that should not be, encouraged in our society, this whole indictment thing is a little bit of a witch hunt. Like, I'm not saying that it's all, like, I'm sure that some of it is legitimate. Like, I'm sure that it is. I'm not doubting that. But this whole, like, it's clear that they're doing this right before the election. They're just going to bury him in paperwork. They could have done this at any time. They could have started this so long ago. They could have, if they wanted to.
He said in a speech, "I'm one indictment away from securing this election." every time something happens, his funding goes up. His poll numbers go up.
Did he actually say that? That is so fun.
I'm one indictment away from securing this election. He said, "We just need one more."
That's what I'm telling you. Like, they don't. And this is what frustrates me. Is like, I understand that world is very power organized, and there is this sort of unspoken rule of what is best for everyone that's in power and this whole thing. But it's like, how did you people not think that this was going to happen? Do you think that he is unsmearable? That's what he is. That is his. That might be his. That might be his greatest quality.
Yeah.
It is impossible. He lived this life of, like, married a lot, money, casinos. He's already in this, like, sinful life. Like, he's already in it. Like, there's nothing you can do to him. He had a sex tape that got released. Like, plea money. Like, this guy is not spotless.
Yeah.
So what do you think you're gonna do to him? Like, clearly the people that support him,
yeah.
clearly the people that support him like him. They don't give a shit about the sex tape and all the comments about women. I mean, some of them do. Some of them. I know people that are like, I have so many judgments about his moral character, but policy-wise, I like him, and that's at least they're making that distinction.
And
at least you're gonna.
I definitely am in that category.
Yeah,
the whole Grammy, but those comments, like, come on,
of course,
dude.
and it's like that's gross, and like why are you talking about, you know what I mean? But that's the world that he's in, so it's like you're not going to smear him. So, but I mean the mugshot thing was dumb. Like it was like you didn't need to do it. You didn't need to give him all that money, and that's why I kind of think there's this
They
weird.
should have seen the reaction, because I think, like, if I'm not mistaken, Rudy Giuliani's was released before.
Mm-hmm.
And even the reaction to that was like, oh god, like, here we go. Like, it was like a build up. Like, it was like the pregame to the Trump mugshot.
You're muted, sir. Do you want to be unmuted? Okay.
I remember the AI interpretations of, like, what that mugshot was going to do after the Rudy Giuliani
Oh, really?
drop. Like, everyone's like, okay, now we got this to work off of. Now what is it going to look like?
Was it accurate?
Some of them were pretty accurate. There was, like, what AI does, it gives you, like, 10 of them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into the whole AI thing, but I've seen, like, I've seen things that I thought were real, and it's like
absolutely.
It's scary.
I do want to get into that also later on in the program, but yeah. So that's where exactly were we at before we
the mugshots and
the mugshots. Yeah, I mean, like they didn't have to do it. Like they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't have to. It was dumb.
But they did, and we were all blessed.
But that's why I kind of think there's this weird unspoken, unwritten incentive structure within the current system that is meant in a way so that the two movements fuel each other. Like, the Democrats didn't have to do the mugshot thing.
It's funny, though, because, like, before it came out, I think everyone thought that it would be the left who was going to make merch of that and celebrate it. But the right was the one who made the merch of it.
The right is better at handling criticism, I think.
Yeah.
I think they're better at rolling with the punches.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I mean, it's
yeah.
hilarious. I mean,
Oh.
no, I made it the profile picture of
A
my
lot-
right-leaning Instagram account that I
A
have.
lot of the conservative commentators out there, I think Benny Johnson did it. A lot of them immediately, like that
Yeah.
was all, and I was like, who is the, like? I had to check the username handle, like, because everyone had the same profile picture.
Okay, give me a quick moment here. Speaking of Benny Johnson, have you met him?
I actually did, yeah. We actually got to talk for a little bit. America Fest 2 years ago. There was a little like, what do they call it? A block party like before the conference started at TPUSA headquarters, and only the majority of people who were going to the conference were flying in the day after. I was lucky to get a flight the day before, so I had time to go to it. And he was there, and he was literally just walking around like headquarters, like, oh hey, getting pictures, talking to people.
That's cool.
He's a good guy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here's the thing.
I like him.
I don't like him.
Really?
From what I've seen on social, no, but here's the thing: I haven't met the guy in person. I haven't talked to him. I'm sure that he's a nice guy, but again,
I mean, I didn't like sit there and talk to him for like an hour, but
and
yeah.
Let me even preface this: it's not even that I don't like him. It's not even that. It's that in my mind, and again, this is just the content that I see from him on his own Instagram page. It seems like everything is about owning the libs and beating the woke, and it's like this guy is just a culture warrior.
No, he
like,
is, yeah.
what else? Like, is
Well,
he actually contributing anything to the conversation? It seems like he's just criticizing.
He's not. I mean, he doesn't because his content is pulling from already made, released videos and just giving his commentary on it. Or like some of his things are literally just like posting, and I'm guilty of this too. I've just recently started doing this, but it's for me. My reason of doing this is because I want to start getting my name and views out and out there. But he'll take a video and he'll save it, and then to make it his own, he'll just have a picture of his tweet on there for his take on it. Which
sure.
I mean, I'm doing it too, but I mean, he doesn't do a lot of original content. It's what's already out there. Then he gives his view on it. But I mean, I think I relate to him a little bit more because he does do a lot of the memeing and his speech. Like, you haven't been to like a TPUSA or anything?
No, and listen, I would love to start going to more of those events just to see what y'all are about, because it's clearly very popular, and I'd like to see what's going on. I'd like to see what kind of characters I would meet at an event like that. I'm sure there's some interesting people.
Yeah. Well, but the whole thing of it, I mean, it's going to be similar to the bridge, like a lineup of speakers. But you have he's known as the meme guy. Like, he does the social media content.
Right.
He's good with that. He gets the views. But the four speakers that are on before him is a senator from Oregon you never heard of, a congressman from North Dakota, a head of whatever department, and then the guy who comes on with the projector with the memes and stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, he's a very different, a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more relatable. Yeah.
And to be honest, he seems like a very charismatic guy. He seems like he'd probably be funny in person, great to hang out with.
Hilarious.
I'm sure that he's not even a bad dude. And maybe in that case, then maybe this has changed my opinion on him a bit. Maybe I would just like to see some original content out of him. I would like to hear him maybe discuss some nuanced topics, or just to kind of. I want to know how he thinks.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. I don't even really care what he thinks per se. I'm not saying that it's not important, but to me it doesn't matter as much as like how a person thinks to me is much more important.
And I know you, like, because we talked about this before. You are looking for productive, not just the triggering the libs.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff doesn't do anything for me. It's like, listen, I understand that it's fun, and I understand that a social movement needs its art, it needs its memes, it needs its funny, it needs all of that stuff in order to succeed, because it has to be able to normalize itself. So I'm not even saying that. I'm not even hating on his content. And again, I don't know the guy, so I can't say that he's a good or a bad person. I would just like to see some of his content does bother me when it's repeatedly just all about like, oh, libs eat shit, and it's like, man, that's not. And if you really wanted to pass and again, I get that he's joking, but if you really wanted to pass those policies, I would think that the goal would be to try to absorb as many people from the other side into your cause. But again. So maybe I would just like to see some more original content out of him.
I mean, I agree with you there. I don't really think it's as productive as it could be. But as someone who is conservative and who finds that stuff funny, I enjoy it a little.
And I find some of his stuff funny. He reposts the Babylon Bee all the time. I love the Babylon Bee. Those guys are hilarious.
They are spot on every single time.
They honestly, I've seen very few misses from the Babylon Bee. Very few. So, okay, so another thing I wanted to maybe touch on. I don't know if we discussed this maybe the first time we talked. I feel like I might have, but I'm curious to see if maybe there's a little bit of a different answer now. We've I think both been voicing frustrations with individual political parties, with the system itself. Have your views on like third parties or a multi-party system shifted at all since maybe the first time we spoke? Whenever I brought it up,
I mean, they're definitely important. I think people should do a little bit more research into that. But no, I mean, I think I remember talking about this, and it's probably a very similar stance. Like, I'm open for that, but I don't see that being effective anytime soon, just because of how divided we are.
Right.
And, like, as of now, we're so divided that like I'm not willing to even shift my vote over to that area because
Okay.
I know it will not do anything, and that's just taking a vote away from what is being pushed.
Okay, interesting. Because I view that as protesting the system,
Oh,
and
no,
even
no,
though
no.
and even though it
For
doesn't
sure, for
affect
sure.
direct policy,
Yeah.
I would rather tell those people that I'm not letting you represent me. You don't represent me. I don't know what you're doing anymore. But I do also understand that idea of like if you are having. And I guess here's the other thing, and I guess this does come from like a privileged standpoint, but I care about individual issues, obviously, right? I want less people to be dying. I want there to be less poverty, less crime. I want there to be better education, safer streets, all of that. But I get to this point where I'm not sure which side is correct in which areas of the issue and how you effectively combine those things together in a way that benefits the largest amount of people, even if it doesn't make some of them happy.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
This is probably contradicting myself, but I do respect people who are willing to vote, even though you know there's
Yeah.
no way that they're gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess something that I've experienced 2 days ago at the University of Pittsburgh, there was a pro-Palestinian protest, and they were calling for a ceasefire. And one of their chants was calling, I think it was like, Biden, you can't hide. You're allowing genocide or something like that. So these
They're really
people
good with this, aren't they? They're poets, man.
But
They are
they're
poets.
They're calling out Biden, and they're very frustrated with him.
Yeah.
But they're gonna vote for him.
Of course.
There's,
Or,
like-
or more likely than not, they're not voting
Yeah,
for a Republican.
They're not voting Trump. You're gonna vote for Biden. So I mean, yeah, you may. I'm frustrated with some of the candidates on my side. I know a lot of people can't stand Biden on the left, but they don't like Trump, so they feel like they have to vote for him. So I think that once Trump is done with his stuff, like once Trump's out of the picture and we get back to the normal, in quotes, people running for office.
I think he might have fundamentally shaken the system. Like,
well,
we've seen a lot of
I mean,
Trumpish like people pop up now.
I'm sure Don Jr. is planning on something, you know.
I mean, the fact that he changed his pronouns in his Twitter bio to "your hero." Don Jr.
I didn't.
wait.
what,
That was
Instagram?
real, right?
On Instagram?
Way back in the day, it might still say it. It was like not way back in the day. It was like I remember seeing it like I don't know, like a year ago probably, that there was a screenshot of his Twitter bio and
Twitter, okay.
the pronouns were "your hero."
Oh, wait, I gotta look Twitter. No,
No, he changed.
but that's
Okay,
that's funny.
that might have been a meme then. That might have been photoshopped. So Don Jr., I know you're listening to this. Don't
We're
come after
sorry.
me, please.
Please don't sue.
Yeah, the Trumps all listen to this show. So do the Clintons. But yes, I'm sure there's something there being thought of, at least by him. Like he could do some sort of running for some form of office or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. I think once he does get out of there, there's going to have to be a serious conversation that's had about how do we start to bring the system back to a more, I guess, a place that's a little bit closer to its original run.
I'm contradicting myself again. I just thought of this stuff. But this also could be the time where we do take advantage. I mean, a lot of people don't like Joe Biden who voted for him. And people are upset with the whole speaker thing. And so if we all just realize, hey, like these parties ain't going.
What is that from? May 14th, 2022? This is, I'm sorry, Gavin's pulling up the Gavin's pulling up the highlight reel of the Trumps right now. This is a tweet. This is a tweet from Donald Trump Jr. on May 14th of 2022. And he said, "Oh no. Your phone went black. Sorry, can you bring it back up? Sorry, I looked at it for too long." I think it said like something about his new pronouns. Sorry, folks, for the people listening. I mean, everyone's just listening. Here we go. Okay, tweet from Don Jr. "My new pronouns are the great MAGA prince. If you don't abide by that, you're committing literal violence." Jesus Christ. Oh my gosh. I want them all to shut up for a day. Like, get out of here. Yeah, no, so honestly, I don't think you were contradicting yourself. I think you were making the point that, like, hey, me personally, I can't bring myself to put the vote in the third party because in my mind that's taking away from...
Right now, it's just too important.
No, that's totally fine. And I think that maybe I am having a little bit of those feelings, but I just can't imagine who I'd vote for. Like, I just don't... I just feel like, we got to have better options than these two goobers.
So you weren't for Trump?
No.
And you're not?
No.
I don't... For Biden?
No, I mean, listen...
So if it was like both of them, like if election day was tomorrow and it was Biden, Trump, and then like the third party candidate.
I'm happy with the third party candidate. I mean, there's a wide range that can fit in there that I'd be...
Assuming that they are upholding of your values.
Yes, of course. Obviously, I'm not voting for whoever the fuck candidate. But no, I mean, listen, I mean, I refuse to vote for Biden again.
Which is good.
He's too... I say he's too old. People acting like he's still cognitively intact is silly. The guy should just be able to go live at home with his family for his final years, but the reality is he's been a company man forever. Mm-hmm. They know that he's controlled, so that's why they ran him. But this whole thing of like what they're giving him like instructions for the press conference on like a piece of paper, they're giving him.
He can't even hide the paper.
No, he can't even hide it.
Always
He was like, he was like
discreet about it.
He was like, and they got me this nice little cheat sheet or whatever he said.
It is, yeah. See, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just thinking about him having it turned over and the camera's taking pictures. He literally tells the people, "Oh, here's a list of people I was told to call on."
Yeah, exactly. Like that kind of stuff to me is really concerning because I'm sorry, like you can't be that old. Like you can't. I'm sorry. Like it's you've got to step aside. Like there has to be
Kamala? Like, do they think she won't win or?
No, I mean Kamala Harris is she's the least popular politician I think in the history of politicians.
The way of getting her there is to have Biden pass away.
Dude, they've got to get her out of there somehow for 2024. They've got to get her out.
Yeah.
They've got to get rid of her because.
Confirmed yet? If that's the same ticket?
I don't know, but
when's the last time that's happened?
I don't know, but they've got to get rid of her because.
The ticket for re-election. Has that ever happened? I mean, I'm sure
that's an interesting question. But listen, that's the thing. Like they've got to get rid of her because she's
hella awkward.
She's
still a sitting vice president. Hey, you did an okay job, but next time around we're gonna go with this person.
I mean, that's crazy. But think about it. They're like locking her in the White House. They don't let her come out anymore. Like she as Tim Dillon said, and I've recommended Tim Dillon for you. Tim Dillon's on Rogan, and he goes, "It's so good. It's one of my favorite Tim Dillon moments." He goes, "Kamala Harris cannot form a sentence. She's almost worse than him. She talks in like gypsy curses." that was the thing.
She does. Yeah.
The vice president hasn't been replaced since one passed away.
Wow.
Yes, if you people didn't hear what Gavin said, the vice president has been replaced, but it was a long time ago, and that vice president passed away. R.I.P. to whoever that was.
That's crazy. Yeah. That would be hella awkward.
So they're probably not going to. They're probably going to run Biden Harris again, and my God, what an awful.
Isn't her approval rating lower than?
That's my point. Is like she's the least popular politician in the history of I think all of them.
I'm still cracking up about that because on the debate stage she literally called him a racist. And
I
then they
mean,
reached
yeah,
out,
that
hey, do
part's-
you want to be the vice president? Oh my God,
Well,
I'd love to.
Well, of course, because she's got to act tough, and
Yeah.
she's got to. Well, all the politicians have to do this. All the politicians have to walk out there and throw their punches and try to look tough because they're all auditioning for
Yeah.
whoever's pulling the strings, making the whole thing happen. But then, as soon as the whole thing flips and you didn't win, but you're being offered a position in the regime, you go, "Oh, of course. Who cares about what I said? I'll do it." Right? That kind of thing.
Well, no, wait. So actually, it's going to happen either way because Trump's not going to run with Pence again. So.
Oh,
I
whoa,
guess
good
it is
point.
gonna
Well, that's
happen.
also one election separated.
But it's still.
But still,
yeah,
I mean,
guess.
it's one election step. But they ran last time. No, it is. They ran last time and they lost. They would
Yeah.
not be running together this time.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We're at 52 minutes here. We're gonna have to start. Or we're gonna be getting somewhere here. So I want to go into a little bit of a lightning round. These are some fun questions I came up with. I think these are gonna be interesting answers. What's your favorite childhood memory?
Ooh. Oh, I actually know the answer.
Okay.
We, as a family, not every summer, but for a couple summers in a row, we would go to Massachusetts in the summer.
Okay.
On set, like right on, like near Cape Cod. We'd get
Mhm.
a house on the bay. We'd go crabbing.
Mhm.
And that's where I saw the movie Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for the first time.
Oh, really?
I think we rented it from this was when I was younger. So I think we went to one of the places that had the red box things where you
Yeah,
rent the
yeah, or like a
CD.
DVD store
Yeah.
type thing. Yeah.
And we watched it there. And I don't know why that's such a vivid memory, but that was just a good time.
Yeah, that's
Good.
cool. I
And
like that.
We a couple years ago, my parents are split now,
Mhm.
but that's when we were all I don't want to sound sad, but that's when we were a big happy family.
Right.
We were all together. But a couple years ago, me and my brothers just went with my mom, and we stayed at the same house that we used to.
Okay,
And
cool.
as soon as I walked in, I recognized it. It was like a deja vu.
Like right
thing.
back.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That's nice. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. What is something you changed your mind on recently?
Politically.
It could be. It could also be anything in life. Obviously, not like easy, simple stuff,
Yeah.
but anything in life you've changed your mind on.
Let me think. This isn't really changing my mind on. I guess I'll say it first, and then you'll understand how it may not fit what you're trying to look for.
Okay.
I am very opposed of Gavin Newsom of California.
Mhm.
But someone said something the other day, and it kind of made me view him differently.
Okay.
They said he's very good at what he does. He's a very good politician.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't agree with anything he has to say.
Okay.
But when they said that, I was like, oh, he's doing a good job in the sense that he's professional. He seems to be likable from the people who support him.
Yeah.
Which I think is why I'm realizing that he is one of my biggest fears. If he jumps into the presidential race,
Interesting.
that's something that
Okay.
if Biden's not the nominee and he's the nominee, it's gonna be Gavin Newsom no matter what. But no, my maybe my mind didn't change on him, but my perception of him changed a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure.
If
yeah.
that kind of answers the question correctly.
Yeah, I would accept that answer. What is the most rewarding part of your job?
Telling people stories.
Okay.
For sure. I've done a lot of national news, breaking news, this policy passed or something. But I like telling the, just recently I did a story that covered some of the Israeli funding efforts from the universities, and I got to talk with Jewish students across the country of why they're doing it and how it affects them, and it made me feel good releasing that story because I was giving them a voice during these dark times.
Yeah, I like that. What does it mean to be an American to you?
Free. Just do what you want to do. Think what you want to think. I'm not gonna agree with it or respect you for some of your choices or whatever, but you can't really do that anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite Republican in Congress?
Ooh. That's a good one. Matt Gaetz has been killing it.
Okay.
Not favorite as in like policies he's passing or anything, but I think he's like.
I mean, even
one
like
of
as
the
a
only
person.
He's not the only. He's one of the ones recently who's been willing to put a foot down. Like he was
Okay.
the one who caused the whole Speaker of the House incident.
Yeah.
Now I'm still hoping that was for the best,
Mhm.
but he called him out on the House floor.
Yeah.
You said you were going to do this. It's not getting done. Time for someone new. Like your time's up.
Mhm.
So that was refreshing to hear.
Okay. Favorite Democrat in Congress?
I think AOC is hilarious.
Okay.
I do. She goes live on Instagram. Like she's just chilling. I can't stand her, but I think she's so funny.
Okay. All right. I'll take that. All right. Now this is the for real lightning round. This is like a
3-word
Quick-
maximum answer.
yeah. Quick answer. All right. Greatest American president of all time.
Ronald Reagan.
Okay. AI.
Scary.
Ron DeSantis.
2024.
Trump.
Savage.
RFK Jr.
Potential.
Mitt Romney.
Who?
Mitt Romney.
That was my answer.
Okay. Okay. U.S. intervention globally.
Debatable.
Twitter/X.
Progressing. Getting better.
Elon Musk.
Daddy. I love him. I want a Tesla. If you're listening,
Last
I
one.
want a Tesla.
Last one. Journalism.
Rewarding.
Okay. That's where we're gonna wrap it. Logan, thank you, dude. This is genuinely so fun.
It's always anytime I'm here, have me on. I love it.
Yeah, I mean that was genuinely. I really had fun today. We talked for a while.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. And this was
No Star Wars.
No, I mean, okay, actually, real quick before we go, we'll do a very quick thing. Thoughts on the new AJR song? What is it called
like
again?
it.
Shoot, what is it called? I'm forgetting. I have to look it up on Spotify. It's
I liked it.
Yeah, we're gonna drive Well, I'm not gonna play it, but we're at least gonna talk about it. It's gonna drive Gavin crazy.
You don't like AJR? Oh, no. I'm never coming on this again.
What did Gavin call it? Quirky white boy music?
They do have their sound. All the songs.
Yes, I'm a
sound
mess.
the
It's
same.
yes, I'm a mess.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
I like
okay.
it. I like it.
I agree. It does kind
The
of
song
eventually
I'm looking.
start
Wait,
to
that comes
peak.
out soon.
Yeah, I mean it comes out in a couple weeks. Yes, are you excited for the
I
new
don't know
AJR
what song,
album?
I don't know what song they play in the teaser. The Pandemonium.
Oh yeah, that one's gonna be cool.
I'm
yeah.
excited.
Yeah, that
for
one's gonna
one.
be cool.
Yeah. No, I'm hyped.
There are a couple that
I
I'm
just saw him
excited
recently
for.
in concert.
You did. I've been meaning to because I really do like their
My
music.
second time in counting, guys.
It's fully. I'm fully aware, by the way, that it's like it eventually sounds the same. Like I'm
does, yeah.
wondering what this new album is gonna have in terms of like different sounds. I always love their creative process with making music, and I've always appreciated the quirkiness of it. Like there's
and
a
then, like,
quirkiness.
in concert, they break down. Like,
Yeah, like
the intro to like 100 Bad Days.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like here's the parts, and then they like start playing right into the song.
Yeah, and
once
like
they compose it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And I've heard their concerts are great, and so I've always liked that. So yeah, so are you excited? You're excited for the new album?
I am.
I think I am a little bit.
I wasn't as much like I liked their last album.
Okay,
but
Orchestra
for
was
me-
okay.
For me, nothing compares to Neo Theater.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Because for me, the Click is undoubtedly their best.
No,
The Click is
Neo Theater to me was like I like every single song on that album.
See, interesting. See, Neo Theater's got some great ones. 100 Bad Days is a banger.
Don't Throw Out My Legos is like a top 3
I mean,
for me.
I listened to that song earlier
Birthday
today.
Party's good. Dear Winter's good. All of
Oh,
them.
Dear
I love
Winter
it.
is a good
I
one.
love it.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. I do respect that take. For me, the Click has no skips. I can
That's
listen to the
the
album all the time.
I'm Ready is on that, right?
No, that one's Drama. Shoot, why am I forgetting this as my favorite album? I'm thinking. Wait, how am I forgetting the songs on like one of my favorite albums?
No, that's on there.
Hold on, let
I
me.
swear I'm Ready was on there.
The Click is the good part, weak, sober up, drama, turning out, no grass today, 3:30.
Okay, I like that one too.
Bud
But
Like You. Bud Like You is a slammer.
I don't know, like
Swear to
Weak
God.
and Sober Up are my favorites off of that one.
Yeah, those are good ones. I love drama and I love Bud Like You. Those are my two.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so we had to touch on that 'cause we are AJR fans.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I get
That's
hyped
like
for
a
those
must
stuff.
if I'm on. We
Yeah,
have to talk about that a little bit.
Gotta have the AJR stuff. Yeah, and then you know we could have talked about Star Wars with
But
the
you're not
Ahsoka
caught
show.
up.
I know.
Fake fan.
I know, and I'm not caught up. But
Well, that's your homework assignment for.
yeah, that's before next time. That's the homework assignment. Is get caught up on the Star Wars shows. Watch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
I will.
Watch that one for sure.
I'll watch
one
that, and I'll watch the Spider-Man ones that we were talking about.
Oh, you know what you have to
earlier.
watch? You have to watch, and we didn't talk about this when we were downstairs, but what you got to watch is the new animated Spider-Man movie,
That's
Across
what I
the
heard about.
Spider-Verse.
Well, I saw the first one of that. I really did enjoy that one.
It's so, dude, the second one is so fucking good. I mean, seriously.
I heard the music for that's hype, like the villain's theme.
Oh my God,
is really
the
good.
music was insane. The animation in that movie from the first minute, it's like, wow, this is fucking something different. It's crazy. The story's beautiful. The voice acting's great. But yeah, I mean, definitely those two. I'd
Both of
recommend.
us have homework assignments.
Of course, yeah. And then obviously in your spare time, check out. You gotta watch some Tim Dillon.
I will.
think
No,
you'd
no,
actually
like
it,
seriously,
yeah.
send me links and I'll
I will.
I'll listen to them on my way home.
Yeah, I'll send you a link for one of the ones. Are you what are you throwing in?
Joe Biden.
Which one is it? Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
Give Logan the headphones.
Joe
so you can hear it.
Biden. Joe Biden.
Spamming it. It's just
What's that from?
It's just a guy and it's from
Oh.
some TikTok.
Joe
Some TikTok of a guy
Biden.
just going,
Joe
Biden.
Biden.
He's spamming
Joe
the shit
Biden.
out of it. Joe Biden.
Wait,
Anyway.
no, well, you might as well do the other one.
Go to play
You don't have
play the chocolate chip.
Obama?
That's, oh, no, I don't know. I think the Obama one got rotated. chocolate chip.
Eat some chocolate chip.
Oh my god. Eat some chocolate.
That's
It was
the
kinda funny.
greatest.
It was kinda
It was kind of funny. There's some really great ones on there.
You gotta give it to him.
Yeah, but anyway, man, thank
Yeah,
you so much
of
for doing
course,
this.
of
It's
course.
great to see you when you're in town. Anytime you're in town, please reach out. I'd love to sit down and chat.
Of course.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you later.